Funny seeing you guys here. How's everyone doing today? I am in an interesting mood today, but it's full of excitement and dopamine for certain. There's high level dopamine dumps happening pretty much at the moment. Now that I think about it, whenever I wake up in the morning, I get really excited for the show. So I have to make sure that I'm doing something productive so I don't think about the show, because I enjoy so much coming up here and having an hour to have to talk to Sam and guys like Tangent, Hex Orca, who's been absolutely slaying his PP all around Twitter. Excuse my language. That was inappropriate as possibly inappropriate. But guys, this is Crypto in the Morning. It's your boy GRC. We got Sam Stolt in makeup right now. We're not sure if Tangent's going to make it because he's probably in a cage somewhere since he's in Australia. But we're hoping he gets out in time for the stream. We think if we get enough biceps in the chat, Hex Orca is going to do his Orca call and come on. And we're going to start talking about the BTC dump along with Hex dump, which isn't as much of a Hex dump because we did have a nice little cushion there. So we're starting, things are playing out, guys. Let's talk about it, okay? Let's talk about it. This is the cutting edge of DeFi, this channel. This is what we're covering, period. Sam, the premium numbers, ridiculous. Were we covering it right away? I mean, literally before it happened? Was I covering it every single day? Was that all I was thinking about? Yes, you would have made those moves if you were watching the show, because guess who made those moves? GRC made some moves. The premium is making not going to say anything interesting there. Okay, guys, biceps in the chat. I love everyone here. This is going to be an absolutely incredible episode. Sam's locked in like a laser. I'm locked in like a laser. Tangent, how's he doing? I don't know. Guys, it's your boy.
Young folks, you tripping on them motherfucker.
Richard Heart. Richard Heart.
Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Point one every day we mark. Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Checking my MetaMask moving. Look at the Hex, he is mooning. Looking at why they be choosing. Peter is why they be losing. Pulsechain's out, now get me a check. He's gas up and it got me a mess. Remember the times he died, collect. Hex, I been eating, I'm dying in the best. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this pulsechain lingo. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Getting this back like a year ago. Getting this pulsechain lingo. Swerving the ring like a Lambo. Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Bought my Hex from the fucking start. Sacrificing all this bread like I'm Richard Hart. Got paid on big payday and I had a hairy start. Now I'm checking on my pulse just to check my heart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart. Richard Hart.
Don't even open your mouth until we hear.
Oh,
Just don't say a word. Just flex it. Guys, flex it.
I love how my arms actually disappear when
That's
I
all right.
flex.
Hex
That's how
we
small my
haven't
biceps
talked
are.
in 2
They're
weeks.
not that you can't see them at all.
How are you doing?
I'm great. Let me just mess with my volume settings a little bit.
All right, somebody Sam, I'm also going to ask you the same question.
Oh, sorry.
How are you doing?
I am doing awesome. We have the fitness challenge going on right now, and all I can see is biceps in the chat, which is awesome. Loving it. I had my workout this morning. Absolutely glorious. It was a glorious workout. Like, I'm smiling in the gym. They're like, what is this crackhead doing in the gym? He's like going berserk, and he's got this stupid smile on his face while he's working out. But it's a blast. I'm doing amazing. I'm looking forward to, we've got a 6 p.m. EST Q&A call on Telegram. So if you guys are in the fitness
video, if you'd like, if you want to pop up in video, you can. You don't have to. We do on the Telegram. If you signed up for the Crypto Fitness Challenge, there is a 2 hour, 1.5 hour, or an hour. I don't know exactly how long it's going to be, depending on how many people are there. We'll be answering all your questions if you have specific questions in a little bit more detailed in a manner.
Candy, brother, how you been? I was excited. I saw the thumbnail. I was like, oh, Candy's coming on. I always enjoy those conversations.
Those thumbnails really do spice me up. I'm not going to lie. I love seeing us three boys really just throwing our stuff up there.
You picked a picture of me that I think was T-Bird said I look like my eyes looked like they were cracked out.
You looked like an absolute savage in that picture.
You didn't. You
Dude, there was a baby kangaroo in the picture, Sam. In the original picture, there's a baby kangaroo in the picture.
Yeah, it was a kangaroo selfie.
Wow.
Yeah, he was like this, and the kangaroo was like right back here.
Before you got on, he's doing the intro, and he's like, "We have a special guest today. You know, the one and only Tangent, but we don't know if he is in a jail cell because he's in Australia or not."
You can never be so sure, Sam. Can you ever be so sure?
It's Australia.
Absolutely cannot.
I have to ask the question. I've seen the legislation.
You're right.
I've seen the legislation. They can grab you, and they can force you to, for certain medications. At least they were. I don't know if it's called a medication or not. Whatever it's called. I'm not saying any trigger words on this show because this is family friendly.
I think that thing may have been slightly overhyped, but we won't talk about it. Like, but
you know what I mean?
But yeah, no, you're right.
Paper, right?
I think it's a good reason to spend every day as if it is your last. It's an added reason because you could get locked up at any moment. So it could be your last day, or it could be your last day.
Yeah, but when you get locked up, you actually have another life within the cell that you have to tend to, and you can actually find happiness in any moment in this life.
Absolutely. It'd be a great.
So I want everyone to know, even in the worst days of my life, I remember playing, what's that game called? That damn card game, Spades. I remember playing Spades, having nothing, no license, no job, no money, court cases up my butt. And I was like, this is pretty fun learning the Spades thing. I remember sitting there and thinking, this is pretty interesting, this game. Do you guys play this all the time? And they're like, yeah, we play this all the time. And I'm like, you really play this game all the time? And then I remember having this conversation. I'm like, I could do this shit.
in jail, you got your daily
Bradley
noon.
With two $20 super chats. Bradley, your beard is full of testosterone and vigor. And it always jacks me up to see.
I got told that over here, like, because we've got prison farms over here, which is like for like white collar criminals and people who are towards the end of their jail sentence. So they see it as you're incentivized not to like go shanking people or trying to escape because you're either so close to finishing your time or you were never a violent criminal to begin with, right? And I got told that they spend most of their days just in their room doing what they can do what they want during the day. They can basically stay in their room, play Xbox, or they can just like play sports in the yard or whatever. And I was like, sign me up until I found out you don't have internet. So you are using Xbox offline. And how much would that suck? That basically kills the enjoyment of like the 99% of enjoyment on like Xbox and PS5 and shit is the online experience. Even the games that are not solely online.
I would never play a game unless it was competitive.
Exactly.
Therefore, I would have to be in some sort of against another human.
So then I was like, man, I'm going to have to stop doing crimes because
why is it's so much? So I've never gotten into video games. So why is it so much better just because of the community online?
Would you rather play against like some computer program or like another dude who's been like really practicing so you could see if you're good or not? Like I'd rather Well, no, but like the
so yeah,
kids
there's
are
that
throwing
side
ice
of
at the
it.
shit. So like, if you can beat them, you get a little. You feel good.
Yeah, so the AI, fighting against AI is usually pretty not as good, and also
Easy.
most really good games are built these days for online experience. So some games you wouldn't even be able to play at all, and some games it would take away the most fun components of those games. So yeah,
I don't know how we got to video games, but I want to get off as soon as possible because video games are one of the biggest wastes of time in the history of the universe. Guys, if you're playing video games all day and you're listening to this, turn your computer off, grab your PS4, and throw it in the garbage because it's ruining your life. And you're not going to make money with it. You're wrecked. Okay, stop playing the video games. Learn something. There's many things to learn. Sam,
do you know that guy you said throw it out your window? Did you see the reports of Colin Van Moger jumping out of a second-story window because he's on meth? The big guy in fitness. He's got like 3 million fitness. Yeah, you know who he is.
Say that one more time.
Did he die?
He did not die, but he's in ICU. So Colin Van Moger is somebody who's in the fitness community. He's got a lot of attention in the fitness community.
You should pull him up.
I'll pull him up. And he jumped out of a second-story window, like high on meth, is what all the reports are coming out. Like this dude's jacked.
Dude, that kind of gives you mad.
But he's in Australia. He's in Australia.
Great cred where I'm from jumping out of a 2-story and just nailing it and landing and not dying.
Yeah, Australia's got like real bad meth usage, like
really
real bad.
Because there's a lot of. I'm sure you can go into the farmland and kind of cook it, right? Like, isn't there a lot of like area where you can kind of like get away?
No. I don't think it's like a Breaking Bad thing that in terms of just the opportunity for people to cook it up more. I think it's more just actually. I actually don't know why. I actually don't know why cities within Australia became like meth capitals of the world. I'm not sure why. And I don't want to sound like I'm defending meth here, but most of the time that these crazy things happen, they blame it on one drug when that person was like cocktailing like shit. So I think it's more important. The more important message is don't cocktail drugs rather than don't do drugs. Although both is sound advice.
Yeah. Wow. No, you're right.
Real quick.
He's huge.
This dude's massive.
So his muscles would have broken his fall a little bit.
Yeah, I'll let this play. I have the sound off.
I can't. If I get another freaking thing, I'm going to be so pissed off.
Sound is off.
Oh, have you been getting strikes?
Yes, dude.
For playing other people's YouTube videos.
I don't know what it's from. I can't freaking call it, bro. The freaking bots are
because it doesn't tell you. It doesn't tell you.
Dude, you don't know. You never know.
Well, man, I'm gonna be very careful with my language. I won't be saying anything that's.
Well, no, that's more for the. I know I have some viewers in here that really hate when we throw hard curse words around because they think it makes people not want to watch. And
no, sorry, I'm swearing. I meant the words. Too, I meant the non-swear word naughty words is the one.
Guys, for everyone's watching, we have a hard time not cursing because we do whatever the fuck we want. Usually. But on this show, we're gonna try to tone it down because I have family members. Stuff like that I have to respect because it's frustrating for me when they talk to me about it. So, therefore, to avoid any kind of negative conversations about my language in general, I would like to start using better language. $20 super chat. This stream is proudly brought to you by Consequences. Without them, risk management would be. Bitfinesse just throws fire around like. It's not.
That's nice. That's
nice.
Nice.
Don't forget to support everyone. It takes a village to get this info out. Love. Yes, everyone. Right now, if you haven't already, I just posted a Twitter.
Whoa, dude. You are getting smashed with super chats right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Love spades, hate sandbaggers. Not sure what a sandbagger is.
That would be like
it must be some other game.
You hold on to your cards in spades so that like you can. Instead of playing them in a certain way, it's something you do in the game.
Guys, support has been absolutely incredible. We're going to keep pushing on this. I am going to transition this into crypto real quick. Hold
Let's do
my
it. Let's do it.
water.
Yeah.
Hold my tea.
What do you think of everything that's going on right now? We have Bitcoin dropping. We have a sell-off right on Bitcoin. It continues to go down. We have
So
that
brutal.
We have that dude who took out leverage, like $200 million of leverage.
Saylor?
I think, is that his name? Michael Saylor, I think, or something. So he's putting all this money in there. If the price comes down to $21,000, he gets margin called. While at the same time, we
got to slow it down for everyone because that actually happened. So I think that's true, right? I heard
Did he get liquidated?
No.
Oh.
No.
At 21,000, he starts to have margin calls.
So guys, Michael Saylor, the king, the goat, the Bitcoin goat, okay?
Yeah.
The Bitcoin goat, okay? On
Tom.
Twitter, at least, like as far as following, right? Like he's got the most followers. And he buys the top. Literally, when he buys, it is the top of that little spot because probably he's got the
local
most
top,
right? So let's be fair there. Like he has to buy in at some point, right? And he's super rich, right? But like, is he like mega super rich? Tangent?
Yeah, he's taking out $200 million loans.
I know, but like, is he like epically mega super rich or like average mega super rich?
Well, he's a multi-billionaire, but
oh yeah, that's extra rich.
Yeah, he's really.
I think that,
and I think I'm pretty sure he was a multi-billionaire.
He leveraged $2 billion.
Yeah, I don't know why he did. I think
he
should have just stuck to spot. I don't know why he went with leverage. I think that's not good. Like, not great.
Why would somebody with his concern for all of these minute problems within like the gold and all this shit? No, which one's Michael Saylor? Is that the one with that was
his first person to buy Bitcoin on a corporate balance sheet?
So how long has he been Bitcoin guy?
He hasn't been in Bitcoin that long. Something Richard always criticizes him about, that he's basically a noob to crypto.
Oh, so he is a noob. He's just been buying tops. He's just really rich.
He is a noob. Well, I wouldn't say he's been buying tops because the majority of his stack he bought in under 20K, I'm pretty sure. So I think his average price is still reasonable, like pretty decent, like good.
You think 20K is a reasonable average price?
That's not what it is, but I can check. I can try and find out what it is.
I
would be happy if
I agree that this dude's probably I'm not saying in general. Like,
I'm not
obviously he's smart and he would like. But do you think? Can these guys? How do you move that much money? Tangent. That's a good question to kind of transition to, if you even know. Like, what do these dudes do to invest in Bitcoin? How do they actually get to that point?
Well, his little he had a conference or whatever to encourage other corporate entities to buy Bitcoin, and the strategy he had for how he did it was go on Coinbase and buy Bitcoin. But obviously, non-rookies would actually mainly do OTC.
He's in
so
my
like
city.
all the Luna purchases were OTC or are continuing to be OTC. I think I heard Luna bought another 1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin OTC. So
yeah, correct.
When you say OTC, that you're talking like Uniswap.
So it's not on the market. No, not Uniswap either. It's like peer-to-peer, if you will.
Udemy type.
You match a buyer and a seller outside of the market, and so you might use the market rate as the price, but you do the exchange just direct.
Just super rich people.
Well, it's good if you're buying and selling huge volumes, because then both of you get the advantage of not moving the price against yourself. So the buyer doesn't move the price up as they buy huge volume, and the seller doesn't move the price down selling huge volume. They get the market rate, both of them, for as much as they want to sell. I guess that's pretty cool. Yeah, it works well.
That's a really good point. Because if you have large volumes like that and you need to change hands, it doesn't make sense. That's how black pools, I think they're called, or whatever, in the stock market, where it's kind of like a black box where the code is supposed to be matching buyers and sellers for large blocks of equity, stocks and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And to do that so that they can get around the buy and sell and just use it at market rate kind of thing.
Yeah. Just annihilate the slip, like mitigate the slippage, like don't have slippage.
What do you think about this comment from Hex is the Way? A very, very smart guy. I like talking to Hex is the Way. Summer could be our crypto low. BTC 12K, ETH 1350 to 1950. GRC would love him some of that.
What do you think? What Tangent? What do you think? What do you think about that? Do you think that over the next couple of months we have? Remember, put it into context because we have pulsechain launching, pulsechain launching. We're going to have a plethora of projects launching on top of that. Do you think that BTC can get down into the 20s or even the teens?
I would be absolutely shocked to see Bitcoin under 20 grand. Like just absolutely shocked because that's below the previous cycle high. So you know what I mean? Like that's below the 2017 all-time high at the time, before we went into that bear market in 2018. So
you think because there was less accelerated growth from the last cycle that it won't dip as much percent due to?
Well, it's just rare. No, it's just rare in general. It's rare in general that assets would do that. Any asset, and certainly Bitcoin's never done it in its cycles. And I know we don't have that many data points in Bitcoin. It's like sub 5 data set, but
it's still pretty good.
I just think I know we say this a lot and then and sometimes it gets proven wrong, but imagine how many people there are out there who would see sub 25K Bitcoin as like, just buy as much of it as you can.
I don't know those people.
All in.
But I don't know many people that buy crypto in general. So that's that. But you do. Like, you know people who buy crypto, right?
It's also I still keep an ear within the Bitcoin community as well, because I don't create a hex echo chamber for myself because I still do love Bitcoin. So on my Twitter feed, I'm still getting quite a lot of Bitcoin stuff. So
and I think that's good.
And I watch Bitcoin YouTubers and, you know, like only the really smart ones though. I don't watch the dumbass, like, you know, ones that are just like, oh, I think the price is going to go up. Like, not
how many Satoshis can you buy with one stimulus?
I'm talking like high level shit, where people are talking about Bitcoin, and that's why I've got those arguments that I believe need to be discussed with Richard. He's been silent on that, by the way. He's been very silent.
We'll wait on that. Let's wait on that. We're gonna
I'll give him a bit more time.
Keep brewing that storm. Keep brewing that storm.
In terms of NFTs,
I thought, sorry, NFTs.
Is that what you were talking about? Sorry, I didn't know what you were mentioning.
No, I'm against. That's Richard and I see eye to eye on that. I don't like NFTs. I think they're stupid at the moment. But you know, we might get a future scenario where you can have a financial NFT that will be reasonable. But I have not seen an NFT project yet that has got me interested at all.
But 25% of the volume on Ethereum is through whatever NFTs, at least that's what someone told me, stakes.
Yes, so I mean, I guess that helps the miners, which I guess I am one of. Like, I mine ETH, but only in a very small capacity. And so really, yeah, when you've got that huge, or I mean, I guess you could argue now with the fee burn, it helps ETH holders as well a little bit. But
I want to give some context for something, and then I want to hear both of your thoughts on this. So, technology, right? When in the early 1900s, you had cars come out, right? And they were starting to be mass produced. And within a less than like a 15-year period of time, there goes from like 97% horses to 97% cars. Cell phones, a much, much shorter time, laptops. You want to pick a technology, and there's an S curve, is what it's called.
When does it happen? When does the
absolutely? There's so many examples.
It's so many examples. So this would be an example of like an S curve where they just did this for dramatic effect, where it's not as extreme, but a lot of times this can be substantially more extreme, like vertical. Okay. Now, to give this context, we already know that how technology is adopted in the world is through S curves, right? You have S curves like this, but a lot of times it can be even more extreme. we have seen Tesla is taking advantage of two S curves. The S curve of ICE engine vehicles switching to EV vehicles, and the S curve of dumb vehicles switching to smart vehicles, right? Ones that are connected. So you have both of these things happening at the same time, and you see Tesla's crazy growth from 0 to $1 trillion in about 14 years. Now, cryptocurrency as a whole is 2.5 trillion, more than double the growth rate of Tesla. Also put this into context. It took us 14 years to go from 0 people owning crypto to 2.5% of the total global population owning crypto. What do you think happens over the next 7 years as this goes fucking bananas? We're going to go from 2.5%, which took us 14 years, to somewhere above 5%. And that does not just have a doubling effect on prices, it's going to have a gargantuan impact on prices. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because nobody else is talking about, like, this is the first time, like, I'm presenting, I've mentioned a couple videos and stuff, but nobody's like, this is a technology, this is going to be how it's adopted, this is literally how it's going to play out. I can tell you exactly how this is going to play out. The time frame will adjust slightly, but this is going to be monumental, the effects that this is going to have over the next just 7 years. Half that time, we're going to go more than doubling the percentage of
You're
people.
fucking me up right now.
I've got 2 quick comments, and then Jim Rat, you can do what you
Nope,
want.
you got a
with
couple. Give it a minute or two. You
So-
need to get in that. I don't know much about this.
Okay, the things I was going to say is, one, total addressable market cap for crypto is so much higher than, say, motor vehicles, regardless of, like, I do agree with what you're saying, that, you know, they ramped up real hard. And the other thing I was going to say is, we are just at the beginning. Like, the "we are so early" thing is not just a meme. And this is you're actually messing me up here, because this is one of the main things I wanted to bring up with Richard when I stream with him. Is he keeps saying that Bitcoin's like at the end of the adoption S curve, and I'm like, bro, what the F? Like, that makes no sense. Like, that makes zero sense.
Fair,
I agree with Sam.
About that, if he's right about that
100%.
for whatever reason,
You can't be right, dude. If you
No,
you
I
can't
know,
do it.
like,
Sam's
I agree.
stats,
It doesn't make
Sam's stats are correct, man. It's like less than 3% of the world have crypto. We're at the start of the freaking adoption curve, not at the end.
let's go.
Do you know what I mean? So,
But his point is tangent a lot of the time, at least. Like, obviously, that's a way crazy to say, like, outlandish to say the least. But
I think his point is subtly different.
a little, because he's basically saying, in my eyes, he doesn't believe that 5-hour transaction times will be adoptionable. He doesn't agree that the technology will be adopted. I think that's what he's saying. At least that's his pitch, right? He could, in the back of his head, be like, this shit's obviously going to the moon. We all know it. I mean, right? But like, at the end of the day,
but then it's not. Then it's not. Bitcoin is at the end of its adoption curve. It's Bitcoin is, the argument would be, Bitcoin is going to fail before it ramps into its some of the glaring accelerated
holes in
phase.
Bitcoin, the holes inside of Bitcoin are large, dude. To as far as, like, when someone,
we see this, but think about this in a broader context, right? Because we're in a bubble, we understand a lot more than a lot of people.
transactions.
No, but think about this, dude.
But
What takes up mental space in anybody who's heard the word crypto? The only thing they know about is Bitcoin, and they think Bitcoin is crypto. What do you think those fuckers are going to get into? They're not going to get into Hex. They're going to get into Bitcoin. They're going to hold Bitcoin. And there's only
brand awareness, definitely. Because I always say to people, they're like, "Oh, what do you do for work?" And I say, "Oh, I'm full-time crypto." And they're like, "What the hell is that?" And I'm like, "Have you heard of Bitcoin?" And they're like, "Yes." But if I say, "Have you heard of Hex?" or like any other crypto, most likely it's Bitcoin is the easier one for people. They will have heard it on the news. They will have heard it in news articles. They've heard their friends in the lunchroom talking about it. It definitely has a wider reach in terms of, I'm not necessarily saying that that's, means that it's definitely going to succeed or definitely going to remain king. Those things are yet to be determined, but I think that's his
point, though. I think that's his point. At least what he's trying to present as his point would be probably something around a very elegant way of saying whatever I was trying to say.
Well, I mean, I guess it's arguable. My counters would be, if you look at the actual adoption that has already occurred, Bitcoin's got nation states, it's got corporate entities, family offices, high net wealth individuals, richest man in the world. Like it's shown to be adopted.
And those what Tanger's mentioning is only like is like a microscopic dot of the population of the world. So what do you think those people are going to do? They're going to want to protect their bags. They're going to tell other people to like Tesla, right? Elon is telling other fuckers like the CEOs that he's friends with, right? And company owners, hey, you guys should definitely have some type of fucking Bitcoin. Like this shit's the future, right? Whether he understands the rest of crypto or not is independent, but he's talking about that because that's what he's doing.
Sam, real quick, can you throw a bicep up? The one.
Yo, Orca.
Hello, gentlemen.
Let's
Orca.
go.
How's it going, Tangent?
You're looking slim. You're
Dude,
looking
that beard is
really
wider.
dapper. I want to know what you think about this conversation right this second.
And I can give you preview if you haven't been.
Oh, come on. I've been lurking.
I've been lurking.
Okay, so,
all right,
so
let's do this.
What do you think
Let's
about
do
this? We got the adoption curve, right? We understand exponential curves, like how they work. The next
Sigmoid diffusion curve.
Stupid. It's going to be stupid, right? So, what do you think about all of this? What we've been talking about?
Like, it must be getting hot in here. Tangent's losing some layers.
I love your shirt, dude.
The jacket's coming off, bro.
You know, how long has it been, Tangent? 2 weeks? 3 weeks?
Hey, same with us.
like-
Hey, everyone on this show
Yeah.
has not gotten together back on this show since we had all talked. I think that might not have been true for Orca. Maybe one time he came on since then, but we've all had a little lag period. You've been off partying in Tangent, doing all
I've
sorts
barely
of
been
crazy
streaming, even on my own channel. Like I've been on, I make it to Late Show every week on Discourse Syndicate, and I've streamed a couple of times on my own channel, and that's about it. And
Nice.
today I want to stream, and then when you said I could come on with yours, I was like, yes, hell yes.
I'm going to present the question again for the audience that Sam presented to Orca about adoption in Bitcoin. 2.5% of the population owns cryptocurrency. We're talking about an S curve here. You know the specifics. Is this going to take off, or is the tech not sustainable for what we want in a takeoff?
Sure. So I can appreciate Tangent's hopium and praying that the world will come to pick up his bags. You know, I can recall when Yahoo thought that they were going to remain the world's most important search engine. And then there was this Google thing that was just way more efficient, and the technology was able to provide developers a far more impressive outlook. So, you know, if I see it in two ways. There is only about 2.5% of the population who's in crypto, and as everyone learns about, you know, the circumstances that have put them in kind of this miserable economy that we're witnessing right now, crypto is obviously the solution. And so from that vein, I do agree, you know, you're early on Bitcoin in those contexts. It's important, though, to mention that, you know, Saylor did do the leverage buy, and I'll explain a little bit about how he raised that money as well. And then, you know, Ecuador bought Tangent. Who's the other country? I can't recall.
Central
Or
Africa.
El Salvador. Sorry, El Salvador. And
El Salvador and Central Africa, I think it was.
Okay.
Central...
So, but there's at least two, you know, major economies, minor economies that are in.
Well,
But,
sorry, I think there's actually more nation states that have bought it and actually have it as part of their treasury reserves. Those are the two that we just listed are the ones that have it as legal tender, as like a dual legal tender.
Oh yeah, yep.
I can look that up while you keep talking.
Yeah, for sure. And so I think the last time I checked, the Bitcoin price was like 32,400.
It's falling fast. It's falling so fast.
So those countries didn't do anything for the price, I guess. And there's sort of the question of, does adoption equal price appreciation, or does adoption equal distribution? Because if it doesn't equal appreciation and it's just distributing this ledger that we know has a fixed 21 million hard cap, then there's no real argument for people to see it as an investment, because I don't invest in cash. I'm lucky enough to live in the US. I have cash as my most liquid, immediate means of exchange at all times.
I'm pretty sure adoption does mean that it will have to at least indirectly make the price go up. And I'm pretty sure I've heard Richard say that himself, that
Perhaps,
adoption is an influence for price appreciation.
It depends on whether or not the people who are adopting are going to, or the people that they are adopting from, the people who are already in position, if they care to stay around, because there is a requirement for exit liquidity. And so there is a strategy for selling into adoption.
Do you think though, so when you look at, say, actuaries and so how insurance is done from a premium standpoint is by spreading the risk out. So one way to think about like BTC adoption in the country is that, say, if you have a country like the size of El Salvador, 3 million people, whatever the population is of that country, you go from probably a fraction of the country even knowing what Bitcoin is or holding Bitcoin to now everybody just uses Bitcoin. So they're going to hold some in their wallet, whether it's $20 or $160.
Lightning Network adoption went through the roof because of that.
Explain that for us. The Lightning
because
Network.
they all of their stuff's over the Lightning Network. The
I know we don't know much about that here.
And that sort of thing. It's cool. We won't go without going into too much detail. It's just the layer 2 scaling solution for Bitcoin. I actually tweeted negatively about it, but I actually jumped the gun. I didn't spend enough time trying to set up my node properly, and it actually works fine. So I've got my own Lightning node. I've been using it. It's basically free and instant, and it is still trustless. The way it still uses signatures and things to maintain trustlessness.
Seems pretty cool.
Not so a lot. There's a misunderstanding that a lot of people have. They think they get Lightning Network confused with Liquid. Liquid is a side chain or whatever that it is centralized to a degree or a lot, but Lightning Network is definitely decentralized and trustless.
How do you feel about doing your blockchain transactions off chain?
I'm fine with it being, if it's on the Lightning Network, I'm cool with it.
Okay.
I mean, look, because they still say that there are
the Lightning Network had. Let's start there.
Well,
it's
a bit like you know how we talk about these derivative products, these hex derivative products like Hedron and Maxi and etc. That there is an increased risk as you increase the tech stack, right? The more code you're using, the more risk that you're just introducing.
Attack surface is bigger, yeah.
Yeah, but if you know the specifics of that, is it a little easier? Because I mean, we watched Dip Catcher go through the code word by word online in front of everyone.
Oh no! I'm just saying as a general comment that by using the Lightning Network, you are exposing yourself to higher risk than doing on-chain.
In general, just because there's one layer more.
Just because there's another code base and just different, like new attack vectors.
There certainly are some in which have already been exploited.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it, Orca.
So what do you? So Orca. So I agree with Tangent that I think we're
early. It's a good morning in crypto.
It is.
We are so early.
I would love a sell-off.
We're all going to make it. We're all getting girlfriends.
Well, some of us will end up with the Bitcoiners' girlfriends, I suspect.
Probably, because they're going to be broke and they're going to be
but only because I will have traded up.
I guess.
I'm joking. By the way, I'm joking. But for any females watching or guys that consider themselves to be feminists, that was a joke. What is this?
Oh my god! This
What
is the work
this?
of Bacon Apes. I can tell. This has got to be his work.
Who is this?
I was doing some
of
play
course.
last night, and I decided I would share with you guys my game theory. Subscribe.
Oh my god!
Who is selling Orca? I'm having a similar question. It's getting really close to the fork, and this is more technical. I don't care about the hex price personally, other than if it goes down, I'm going to buy more. But so, what do you think about all this sell action right before the fork? Or were we about to answer another question before I?
Well, I think I can keep it in the context of Bitcoin and all of that. We've seen obviously Bitcoin's dumping. Hex has fallen from its 20-cent mini euphoria that I think we all experienced there last week. And there's something to be said, there's still a pretty strong correlation. Sam has spoken to that, sort of the tech stock evaluation versus the crypto markets and things of that nature. So as for who's selling, you definitely want to be following Silver the Antidote on Twitter. And he's also got a YouTube channel and a Twitch channel. But he is my go-to for on-chain analysis guru work, because he's willing to take the time and really observe a lot of different wallets, kind of track their historical behavior, try to draw trends from their psychology. You never know if they're going to sell the
He's
next
one of those guys
and stuff.
that I watched his top 100 accounts in Hex selling and buying action, and it was absolutely surgical.
Yeah, he's a wizard, man.
I mean,
it is surgical.
I was stuck to the screen like it was a prime time.
Is this the one you were telling me about yesterday or 2 days ago?
Yes, Sam. I was telling Sam behind the scenes. I must have been telling him. I was like, I seen this guy on YouTube. He was, talking all this crap online, but I just saw his name. Then I went to his YouTube, and I got lost for about 11 hours.
I have to call out some of the uneducated folks in your comment section. Abednair, who says, you say Hex is down because Bitcoin is dumping, yet you don't hesitate to cut down Bitcoin at every chance. If BTC fails, look out. You don't understand how the prices work, Abednair, and I'm happy to educate you on those things. But the price of Hex and the price of Bitcoin behave differently, and you're conflating two things going down at once as being causation when it's something that we call correlation. And that's okay, but I'm here to help you get those bad ideas out of your head and learn things about crypto so that you don't get wrecked like Tangent. So
yo.
Yeah.
I do still maintain,
despite
but despite the fact that Hex is provably decorrelated, like you can do the math and shit. I agree with that. I still believe that, as a more general comment, in its current state, the entire crypto market, I know T-Bird and you were commenting on my comments on my tweet saying that Hex and Richard Hart projects are immune from that, but I still believe that Bitcoin's health is critical to the health of the crypto ecosystem. For now, that may change as like pulsechain and those sorts of things develop and mature a bit. That might actually change, but for now, I don't think hexagons should be cheering for Bitcoin to go to zero. I think that would be very detrimental. Very detrimental.
Sure. Yes. I think that the statistics don't back up that sentiment, but I understand it because I'm also, a former Bitcoiner. So when you look at the adoption in crypto, overwhelmingly, it's going to the Ethereum network. It's not going to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is just a cheerleader that brings adoption to Ethereum. When you look at the price behaviors of Hex and Bitcoin, when I said that you have a small correlation between Bitcoin dumping and Hex dumping, yes, you have a correlation, not a causation. Again, that's what you mistook in Abednair. So the selling pressure in Hex is happening in DeFi. It's not happening in an equities market. It's not happening in a collateralized centralized exchange. So the price performance there is actually just the free will of individuals in a market. And if you imagine, as a market constricts and they go to cash basis, they may be willing to even take money out of Hex. That doesn't mean that they're going to take all of it out. It's just something that people do. So you have to have a little bit of nuance when you start evaluating how correlation works with prices, because the foundation that's supporting these prices are entirely different. The centralized exchange is doing transactions for Bitcoin that never hit the chain. Your trades are not hitting the blockchain. Every single Hex trade is hitting the blockchain. And so those are actual trades, actual individuals. Those are not institutions that have collateral that they need to be able to leverage and deleverage themselves from. So they are entirely different aspects of markets, and we have to understand that if we're going to evaluate them.
I think we should highlight that for the centralized exchanges and how they don't touch the actual chain, because I don't think a lot of people there's 120 people watching, and I don't think a lot of people may be aware that, hey, I'm switching from this token to this token on Coinbase or Cash App or something like that. They think they're actually switching, and they're not actually switching. But in regards to the correlation thing, when, like to Tangent's point, when, if you look at anything, there's something like a flight to safety. I don't know if this is Bit Finesse sent me this, Motley, because he was like, Motley's never going to do this, so let me do this for you. But to Tangent's point, when there's a like a run to safety, and because of like the branding of people's mind space that Bitcoin has, we have a deeper appreciation for crypto in general. But the crypto, we're like pigeonholed in a certain area, right? In terms of we're deep into crypto. So when you look at a broader spectrum of crypto, a lot of people who see crypto only see one crypto, and that's Bitcoin, right? And so if there's something tragic that happens in Bitcoin, I don't think any way it would go down to zero, but I do think that there's going to be a uptick. Like when I showed you, I think I shared it on Twitter with you, right? You see the data when you look at equities. If there's a tragedy that happens in, say, Bitcoin for whatever reason, then all of the other things increase their correlation with that thing. There's several different pieces of things going on at the same time there, but the correlation does increase as like negativity happens and spreads, like the US.
It does. But we'll also have to consider that we don't even have 3 years of data yet for Hex, so there's still a pretty volatile infancy stage there that may be over calculating correlation. It may be sort of a rumor and less of a stated long-term fact. So as we get market structure on Hex with the adoption, then you would expect to see, if it's true that a stable-backed Ethereum coin or pulsechain coin is decorrelated from BTC, then you would expect to see those numbers sort of normalize in the future.
Also, Sam, can I just clarify something when you were saying about on exchanges? Because there's a subtle difference between it hitting the chain and it hitting the book. So assuming that a centralized exchange isn't cheating and making the order book look like it's doing stuff when really it's fake, a bit like some of them may or may not do. Do. Assuming that they're being honest with what's going on, then people buying and selling on the exchange should still impact the price. It doesn't need to hit the chain for it to impact the price necessarily.
It's much more difficult to control price movement when your transactions are being controlled by people who can restructure corporate debt bonds in order to afford their liquidity.
How do you guys
or just fake the price? Like, so some exchanges, and then so see, if a reputable exchange was to lie about what the price is and have like a fake book, then that is probably going to arb out to other things,
of course,
that are less respected or whatever. And I'm using the word respect here incredibly loosely because these should be the entities that are respected the least. And so that is definitely a danger. I agree with that. Yeah. So
what do you guys?
Real quick. I'm going to interject. Okay. We were just at all-time high viewers. Okay.
Nice.
136 live viewers, guys.
Nice.
Smash the likes, smash the shares. Everyone, share this out if you think this is valuable information. We're coming at you live every single day with hardcore alpha. No fluff, no BS, no what was this guy doing with his shit over yesterday over there because I'm all sad about it. No, none of that. We don't care. I could give a shit about anyone, whether they've been an OG or whether they've been in Hex for one day. I got to learn this shit myself because every time I ask a question, I get a fucking 100 different answers from the experts. So I'm trying to figure this shit out myself. Bringing guys like on this, like this on my show and Sam is just like absolutely incredible because we can just really level up faster. I mean, that's what we're doing in real time. We're getting all this information. This is critical information moving forward. We don't know what's going to happen in the next few years, guys, but we know you're going to get the shit deal. I promise you. You're going to get an S-effing deal. I don't know what that deal will look like or what the transaction will look like, but it's going to be an S-load deal. And if you're not dealing with this stuff on your own, being your own bank, you're in big, big trouble, okay? Big trouble. You got to take responsibility for your own banking in your own life. And that's what we preach on this show. Positivity, none of that bull crap. We love honest conversation. None of us would ever get really mad at each other. We're all just having fun, guys. I'm going to use the restroom.
You bet.
See with the conversation, guys.
I had some questions. So for both of you guys, who have more experience in crypto than I do. I think as we transition further along this adoption, right, we've got this exponential curve that's going to continue to accelerate, and we're just so early on this. So whether it's 2 years or whether it's 12 years, it's going to happen. And what I think that there's a possible future where decentralized volume is the number one thing that people look at, not the Coinbase volume when prices from those things, because as Tangent was mentioning, that those things can be manipulated in ways that maybe we can just blatantly see, but also in ways that we can't see, and how, whether it's just changing how things are timed and they go in and all this kind of stuff. How do you think that could, obviously it's conjecture here, but like, can you talk about that when we're living in a world where you know what I mean? It's 80% volume on decentralized exchanges and 20% on centralized exchanges, because then the power shifts there substantially.
Of course. Tangent, do you want to take that?
I
can take it. You're the Bitcoin guy.
You go.
So I think that is a more powerful statistic, looking at the DeFi trade volume and the amount of money that's flowing through verifiable on-chain, verified block explorer, easy to find data. So that is an essential ingredient to crypto. And that's why we should be concerned that the majority of Bitcoin transactions don't occur on the Bitcoin network, and that more transactions are happening on centralized exchanges off chain. Because as we've discussed now a couple of times, there are variables and overhead that are going to accompany that. Now, I'd like to touch on the S-curve adoption bit again, just because this kind of plays into that. I believe, Tangent, what is there, like 7.5 million Bitcoin wallets these days? Something close to that, maybe more.
I actually don't know, but I know the number's going up.
We'll say 10 million because a couple of countries have adopted it. It was 7.5 million, 6-8 months ago, so only higher by now, I would assume. And the reason I bring that up is because when you think about the last bull run and how many Bitcoin holders were added to the roster, that is a far larger number than what we're going to see in the bear market. And that's true for any investment, because people get scared and they go to cash, and that's okay. But if you look at where sort of these emerging projects in many cases have come from and the numbers that they're doing, SafeMoon was able to get over 1 million holders in a matter of months. So it took Bitcoin years, 4 or 5 years, to get into the $1 million wallet position. And the adoption moving forward is much less likely to look like the mass adoption of a chain I can't program anything on, where my transactions take 6 hours unless I want to do non-crypto transactions.
What about in terms of crypto in general? Like crypto in general, so we've gone from 0 to 14 years later, 2.5% roughly of the population.
It is still a good morning in crypto. It is absolutely a good morning in crypto. But if I had a gun to my head and I had to decide if I wanted to buy the most expensive per unit option that has the least utility, or discounted pricing, relatively speaking, per unit on programmable money that can act as peer-to-peer cash in many cases, which is something that's in that Satoshi white paper, why would I take the old expensive thing when I have all of these? We know that
unit pricing is complete bullshit, though. Unit pricing is bullshit.
Well, and that might be why we're dumping right now, though.
But Hex was up in the top 10, which would mean that on a non-unit price basis, it was actually getting up to similar pricing to Bitcoin, like as in,
only if you're using vanity metrics to evaluate your assets.
No, but you can't have it both ways. You either think that unit pricing is bullshit, or you think that caps are bullshit. But I
think the caps are bullshit.
So
unit pricing is a very real thing.
But it only sounds cheap because there's a high supply, though. Like as in, if you make the supply higher,
it sounds cheap because that's how cheap it is.
It's just like a stock
value
split is what I think you're getting at, right?
But I don't think either of them are real. Like as in, I think they're both bullshit. And I also think what was the comment that you made first? I was going to say that's also not. Forgot what it was. Do you remember the first comment that you made? It was about number of wallets. I prefer to use so Glassnode does sort of adds a bit of intellect to their statistics. So rather than using very basic statistics like number of wallets, which can be incredibly incorrect because of the whole multiple people can have one wallet or multiple wallets can belong to one person. So they look at metrics like hodl waves and coin days destroyed and those sorts of things. I find, and even though they're not perfect either, because like you said, there's a lot of off-chain stuff going on, and also there's things that they can't trace. You know, there's people like myself actively try to not have their stuff able to be analyzed on chain. So they're definitely not perfect, but I think they do give you an idea of what's going on. And when you look historically, you can see the changes in those metrics lining up with sort of key phases within the cycle of the price cycles. So, you know, you can see like accumulation happening of certain size holders heading into like zones that you would expect that to happen, etc. So
I agree.
That's a super interesting point, Tangent, because when, like, I haven't been in crypto that long, and when I talk to people in crypto, there's a couple like things across the board, independent of what crypto that people are fascinated by, and it tends to be like smaller government, reduced taxes, reduced regulations, right? And like privacy is like a fourth one that some, you know what I mean? So when you mention that,
but that's not the reality of most coins, but that's what we like.
The people, that's the people that are involved, like those things, right? So what Tangent's saying though is like a tremendous value prop for being off chain in things like Lightning or other things like that, because you're like, okay, cool, it's off chain. Well, cool, I get fucking privacy, right? Kind of thing, what you were saying. And I think that needs to be highlighted, because a lot of times, at least in this community, it's perceived as like a negative thing, right? When in reality, it's perfect for the right person because they want that privacy. And in the ecosystem that is crypto, which is, you know, much broader than what we're talking about here, there's a lot of people who really value privacy. So I think it's definitely a valid point out there. And I think they needed to be highlighed. In regards to this.
I think
that's a really good way of explaining it, actually. Thanks, Sam.
Sam.
Also just reached a new all-time high. Question. Okay, so we're gonna have P hacks and E hacks, right? We're gonna have both of these out here. We were talking about correlation a few moments ago, right? I'm curious. I don't know what could happen, right? But if the cost to transact on this side is so much less, I do think that that's going to have an impact on the correlation, whether maybe it becomes negatively correlated, maybe it becomes positively correlated. I have no idea but I do think it's going to change slightly, because I was looking at research the other day where they were tracking stocks that went from the New York Stock Exchange to NASDAQ and then back, or Amex and then to one trading around. They would be listed on one, and then the fees are different on all those. And what they found was that, which is common effing sense, but if transaction cost comes down, volume of trading goes up, like no shit, right? So you're going to have a 10,000x decrease in cost to transact. You have $20, just say for average of GWEG, $10 or $20 worth of cost, and it's going to go to 20 cents, 20% of 1 cent. Mm-hmm. Like that's going to get 10,000x in cost. The volume is going to be stupid, right? So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think the correlation is going to stay? Like obviously they're going to be held there's going to be parity to some degree, right? There has to be some type of very close to parity.
Yes, of course. There has to be. Yeah, that's how I would think about it, because people would just trade within it.
So there's something to be said when we talk about legacy trade volume with respect to transaction fees. The overwhelming majority of trade volume in major exchanges and legacy markets are done by high frequency traders. And so, of course, if they're able to use automation in a lower fee environment, then they're able to transact with higher number of trades. So that's still something that we can see in crypto. It's not exactly the same as high frequency trading, but algorithmic trading is definitely a thing. Bot trading is definitely a thing.
But you got to recognize Robinhood too, right? Because as soon as Robinhood came out, retail traders also started trading a lot more because the perceived cost is free.
Sure, and that's definitely, and I think, you know, there were already brokers offering free trading, but that convenience, right? That enhanced UI and UE. So there's something to be said there. And that, again, I mean, that's where I'm just bringing this back to Bitcoin. You know, those advanced features and things, those are programmed features. Those require coding languages that are compatible with innovative technology developers. So it's easier for me to develop those things on EVM chains than it is on Bitcoin. And that doesn't mean that Bitcoin can't be like this ultimate store of value thing. But what I was hoping to touch on as far as our S-curve, and I'll get back to the hex stuff too. What about when governments look at the proof of work and the energy? We already know that there's a massive move on the global diplomatic level to move into green energy.
FUD.
I am fudding it.
FUD.
That's why you're down under 35K like we were the last time we were chatting. So there's a double down negative externality on Tangent's precious Bitcoin that right now we're in a massive inflation environment and the cost of energy is increasing. So these miners who are dumping their
right now as well, by the way. Like, I'm
yeah,
not
I
happy
know, but
about it.
I'm staked and earning yield. So I guess you'll just have to keep holding those BTCs.
I have a counter for the energy thing, which I heard the other day, which I found fascinating. In Tangent, you may have already heard this. So the same idea, they're like, well, proof of work, like government's going to be like, F this shit, like for the energy perspective. And then I don't remember where I saw it or read it or whatever. The guy who was like thinking about it, he was like, yes, but what we can see on the edges is that what this is proof of work is doing is facilitating new technologies to reduce the cost of electricity because those people are going through and adopting technology like the solar, like hydro, like wind, like batteries. Because like I was like, hey, before I got into Hex, I was like, I wouldn't, instead of renting out a property to people, I will buy a property, I will use that to mine, and I'll just put solar on top and batteries in the back and get rid of my electricity costs. So if I'm thinking this and I don't know what the F I'm doing, like I guarantee that other people are doing it. And it like clicked for me because I was like, the proof.
There are two strong directions that completely dispel this energy FUD nonsense that gets thrown at Bitcoin. And I don't want to give away too much of the stuff I'm going to hit Richard with when I debate him, but
this shows that it, by the way,
you guys are that good. You guys are that good at asking questions and creating discussions.
It goes global.
No. It's not that. You guys are so good at asking questions and raising discussion topics that probably like 4, 5, or 6 things that I want to talk to Richard about have come up in this show, and some of them I've actively held back on. But like at the start, Sam was talking about things so I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but too far. But I will say that the two main things are, one, what Sam's talking about. That's the high level shit. That's the high level argument, is that when you look at something like Bitcoin, when you can go and rescue stranded energy, so like gas flaring, waterfalls, geothermal, etc., that is epic. That is epic. But it relies on the fundamental comment that proof of work is necessary, or that it's a reasonable consensus mechanism.
I appreciate that.
And the more simple way to dispel energy FUD is the have I forgotten the simple one? It's that if you look at stats coming out of the Bitcoin Mining Council, which I actually don't like the idea of having a Bitcoin council, but now it's there and I can't do anything to stop it because I'm not a Bitcoin miner at scale. It is moving in a very rapid rate towards renewable energy, and the percentage of energy that Bitcoin uses is less than like Christmas lights in the US. So people go, oh, it uses more energy than this particular small country or whatever. It's just like, man, it's so tiny as a percentage of what humans use energy for. And
yeah, but
energy
weren't you just talking about
the
adoption S curve? What happened to the adoption S curve? Is that energy too? Go for that.
Oh, well, the adoption of the currency is subtly different because
isn't it proportional directly to the amount of energy
it's more related to the price than it is to the usage.
But I thought adoption equals the price appreciation, Tangent.
It impacts it, but it's not directly correlated. So
no, I understand what he's saying, because a lot of this stuff is
it's causing it, but
because it increases demand. The more adoption there is, the more demand there is.
I get that.
It certainly impacts it, but my point is that if you energy FUD on Bitcoin, I'm at the point where I've been in Bitcoin so long, it annoys me because it's so it's so 2015, and we're just coming up against the same. Like, it's so repetitive for old school Bitcoiners
because it's
and it's
there.
so wrong.
It's still
so
there.
Wrong.
Like, it's still point-atable. Like, you could still literally point at it and say that is this way, and it would be better if it wasn't.
But
like, there's always going to be
usage,
people that will do that.
Any energy usage being a waste or not is in the eye of the beholder. It's like, do I tell you?
But that's the whole narrative of the
to...
whole liberal world that we're getting into. What do you think they're going to like?
So,
what do you think they want? They won't even shave their armpits.
I mean, I don't care what they want, but it's so. But what you've got to, what I'm saying is, we're going in a direction where even if you believe some of this energy FUD, we're going to get rid of it anyway, just by going to these energy sources.
Yeah, I mean, assuming people stay,
Bitcoin
around long enough to give a shit.
Bitcoin mining gravitates to the cheapest energy because that's how you get the highest profit margins. So it gravitates to free energy or like renewables where the capex might be a certain amount, but the freaking like ongoing cost is reduced, and all of that stuff is it's just. I really think the Bitcoin energy FUD is probably
so.
One
Is
of
there
the
is
weakest,
there car energy
weakest
FUD?
attacks on Bitcoin.
Let me ask this question. That's just totally outside perspective. Is there car energy FUD, and is that
yes, there is.
That's why I'm. So this is I'm literally asking because I have no idea. I'm assuming the car energy FUD is similar, pushing towards whatever companies would like. Obviously, electric cars are cool for 1.5 million reasons. Not only that, but is that, Sam, being that you're
same exact thing. People pushing against EVs when they don't have any fucking clue what they're talking about.
So what is EV?
I'll tell you something interesting about EVs, electric vehicles. And I think Richard even was the one who said this, is that actually maybe not. You're not actually saving the environment. You're just shifting the pollution out of your city. So it still matters where that energy is being sourced from. So if you're charging your car with coal-fired power plant energy, then you're still polluting driving that EV. You're just polluting, just not like you don't smell the pollution as you drive along.
But is it negligible
compared
towards like, is it negligible?
And then there's all the arguments about like the mining, the damage that the mining does to get the lithium and all the other rare earth metals that go into the batteries. Like you can, so it is naive to think that anything in this world has, like, you can do it in a way that just has like zero impact.
Well,
like
here's the thing. So lithium is like the second most available element there is. It's just like all over the crust of the earth. It's like there's a shit fuckload of it, right?
Sam, there's a lot of it. There's a good amount. It has high volume, high trading volume. Quantity. You could say any of these words, but just FS, not the word.
Okay, so there's a lot of lithium in the crust of the surface.
It's abundant.
But there is a shift, right, from having that local versus elsewhere, from the standpoint that, like, if you are running a ICE vehicle where you have the exhaust right there, whether it's in your garage and some of it's in your house, whether it is outside in the parking lot, whether it is in your driveway. So you're polluting right there. There's plenty of research out there that shows that if you live near an expressway type of thing, like there's this one with kids, right? They check the kids in this school that's right by the expressway, and they check the kids on average for one that was away from the expressway. And they had higher levels of all these things in their system than the people did. Plus their IQ ended up being lower and impacted from this kind of stuff. So where you're like, okay, well, you're shifting it around, you're not really doing that much, but then let's take a look at the actual thing that is the vehicle, right? And if you look at the actual vehicle, it's trying to like compare like Hex and Bitcoin in the sense that like Bitcoin's fantastic, right? Great. And like that's I send you a vehicle, but it's so antiquated, right? It is so antiquated in a lot of ways. Maybe that's not even a good analogy because I still am bullish on Bitcoin long-term, right? But the better example that I normally use is something like a flip phone. There was a time where at least I did, probably you got Tangent probably did, Orca may or may not have used like a flip phone. I used a flip phone, right? Okay, so everybody used a flip phone. And then I was the first one of my friends who got a smartphone. And everybody's like, you don't need a smartphone, bro. You could text me on a regular phone, right? Like a flip phone. And then you realize that the capability of your smartphone with relative to a flip phone is like, oh my God, I can check my email. I can do 1,000 other things on this. And this smartphone keeps getting better and better with each new year. And when you look at how the technology of EVs are and the technology that connects, say, like dumb cars to smart cars, where you're going from a flip phone to a smartphone, and we're switching from ICE to EV, there's a tremendous amount of additional capabilities that are not even touched. They're not even touched on. Just like when we switched with the first smartphone to flip phone, you're like, this is better. You can do bigger things and all that kind of stuff. But it wasn't like capable like it is today. And this is happening right now. And this doesn't even include like if you do the equivalent of like miles per gallon versus miles per gallon on like my car, right? I got like 130 miles per gallon versus say you got a really nice like hybrid thing that gets you 45. Cool. It's still 2x better plus in efficiency gains. And people would just come about with like arguments like, oh, you're charging this or charging that. Like it's just a better thing overall, period. And I think that when you look at what's happening with the Bitcoin argument relative to the energy, like it's how I see it. You know how they always say water sinks to the lowest point, right? Like, because it's just going to
reaches its own level.
Yes, and that's how I see that, like metaphorically for energy on BTC. It's just going to continually go to where it's taxed the least and where it is able to be processed, where you get free energy, like Tangent's saying, or the best way to do that, because it's going to move around the globe wherever it is to get to that lowest point. And if something changes regulation wise or other, then it's going to shift to somewhere else where it's got the lowest resistance again, because it's just like, when you have something decentralized, it's kind of like water, so to speak. Yes, we could argue whether it's centralized or not centralized, but sure, we've seen the shift when China did that, right? And a lot of the stuff moved away from China. So it's we like get ideas here, and then we're like, does reality back up what's going on up here? And then you could be like, look, okay, well, China came out with this thing, and this is what happened. So like I see the thing with Bitcoin and with like what happened with Tesla is kind of similar, where I don't think necessarily in the long run it is going to be an issue. I don't know. Like I'm brand new, but just when I'm looking at both those together, I don't know if it's going to be an issue.
Let's all put our venture capitalist hats on. We're all going to decide how to do our crypto investing. We're all now a VC firm. Tangent brings in a research report on Bitcoin, and we're all very excited about it because it's the most expensive per unit crypto. And we're like, hey, man, if some is good, more is better. It's done 6 million X. We want the next 6 million X. And he says, one of the most bullish sentiments to dispel this energy FUD is that Bitcoin incentivizes the establishment of new green energy technologies, especially maybe in countries that didn't have an industry there or a market for that industry before. And so it's this growth and adoption of a new technology that would support more than just Bitcoin. It would support other infrastructure and allow people to utilize that energy. And I would say, well, Tangent, that sounds really awesome because it sounds like the world becoming a better place. I'm just a little bit nervous that we are going to be investing in something that requires a lot of overhead in order to create that infrastructure. Whereas I've heard, because GRC brought in his research report on Ethereum, and Sam brought in his research report on pulsechain, that there are alternatives that are already more efficient and that could trade Bitcoin on their exchange or on their chains anyway. So when we talk about free energy, nothing is free. It requires real infrastructure, and that requires maintenance. And while that is something that you could argue is worth growing into, Tangent already admitted that it's only as far as proof of work is deemed a necessary technology. Yes. And I'm more on the side of Bitcoin with Tangent than I am with JJ or Janet Yellen. I do prefer Bitcoin to any fiat solution, but I'm also not naive, and I see the movement on the geopolitical stage. They are dumb. They're not as smart as Tangent, and Tangent could explain to them all the benefits of producing green energy technology in new countries via Bitcoin. But if I walk in there with the same amount of lobbying capital and I explain that it's entirely unnecessary and that you could allow the central banking system to invest in the new green technology and they could be the capital holders of that equity and of that debt, they don't give a shit about Bitcoin anymore. They would just take the more fuel efficient or energy efficient because it's good for optics. They don't care about the science. They never have. They care about the optics. So if the optics of Bitcoin are that it takes energy and all these alternatives don't, and we see the adoption on the user side going to these other alternatives like Ethereum, there's not a very strong case to be made that this green energy movement of Bitcoin actually holds any water. Because if there's actual demand for energy in those countries, we have better economic incentives outside of Bitcoin to give it to them.
So
my counter would be, that's just one entity that you are pitching to, and they are going to quickly find out what censorship resistance mean, and entities that want censorship resistance, which can include nation states, will eventually go to the thing that is provably censorship resistant. So I agree with you, and that is a scary thought, that there's a lot of low knowledge, low wisdom people in decision-making positions, both in companies, countries, etc. And that you're right, that some of this stuff, they can roll in there. But just like an ICO can just roll in with buzzwords like AI and quantum computing and trick people, it's a short-lived con. And eventually that con gets revealed. And at that point, that's when that group of people learn their lesson. So ultimately, I think it always has to fall back to what the fundamentally, the one that you choose has to be the one that you believe is actually going to change the world in the way that you perceive.
How censorship resistant is a power plant that I can tax?
Speaking of power plants,
well, I mean, but are you assuming that all Bitcoin mining is in like one country or something? That
No.
You can just...
Any country can tax private business. There's no Bitcoin mining that exists on the moon yet. There isn't Bitcoin mining in Antarctica yet.
Yeah, but there's game theory between nation states. So like if one country takes a really hard stance that disadvantages Bitcoin network participants, you saw what happened with, well, actually China's a bad example because they actually actively banned it and got them to stay away. But there are other examples where places have been not friendly to crypto, and other countries and states, etc., jump at the opportunity of being the tech-friendly hub to get that investment and get those jobs. So
build me a hydroelectric dam. Build me a hydroelectric dam in my country because I support your Bitcoin. The dam is now finished. I'm going to tax your pants off until you can't operate that dam profitably. Are you going to box up your dam and move it to a new country?
No, but your country is going to be known as not really being crypto friendly. So you can only play.
I don't care. I have a hydroelectric dam now.
Okay, so you can screw one person over. So you're Alex Saunders. You can screw over like a small group of individuals, but then you'll just be wrecked. Your reputation's destroyed forever after that.
Assuming that these nations that are all coming to an agreement in the UN, who all continue to push out these energy policies, are going to say, we care so much about the potential trading, transaction, and tax on Bitcoin that we wouldn't just choose alternatives and trick Bitcoiners into building our infrastructure for us.
But I don't think it would happen like that necessarily. They'd be like, hey, we don't support, this, bullshit with the green energy and whatnot, all that kind of stuff. They were going to come through and just say, if it's not, you have to have some type of carbon tax on this kind of stuff. Right.
I would say that it would, to me, I would predict that it would be another Bitcoin bait and switch, where a country would think that's what they're going to do, and then when they go and do it, and then they see all the benefits, the tourism benefits, people, all the positive press and publicity, all the love from the Bitcoin community, investment, etc., and they see like what happened with El Salvador. They were able to tell the IMF to get effed.
How's that working out for them?
Well, everything's fine at the moment. Like,
how are the El Salvadorians feeling about the Bitcoin law?
well,
Have you spoken to anyone from El Salvador?
No, I haven't spoken to them.
I have.
But I'll finish my point is that when they see the benefits that come with being, so they'll pretend to be pro Bitcoin to do this scam that you're talking about. And then when they see the actual genuine benefits that they get out of it, I think they would actually go, actually, you know what? We're actually financially better off not doing this as a scam and actually just sticking with it.
It's a very good point.
We have that same
This is
thing.
peripheral.
I see the future of crypto being symbiotic with the existing political infrastructure. I don't see the world as like a boogeyman where they're all going to try and tamp down Bitcoin. I truly don't. I do, however, have to acknowledge the overhead that comes with that development. So it's, you know, the same way that we have an energy externality right now, and it's gotten way better in the last 3 years than it was, and I think it'll continue to get better. There's something to be said that there is still overhead there that doesn't exist with alternatives.
Real quick, guys, real quick. We're going to transition a little. Sam, you want to show what you're talking about, or you want to say something different?
I was going to say something different.
All right, well, then just say it.
Well, I was going to do, in terms of that chart, I just found it interesting because now I will bring it up, I guess. When you look at the largest companies by revenue, of the top 20, there's like 6 or 7 of them that are all energy related. So I think that, like, you know, Tesla's doing what they're doing, and that's changing and impacting the world in that way. But like, you have the largest companies in the world who are just making tremendous amounts of money from energy. But in the sense of like, Bitcoin is kind of going to go towards the thing that's going to make the person who's running mining more money, right? And what Tangent was saying in terms of, like, there's, depending on if you use US data or if you use UN data, there's 190 something plus countries, or you can think of it as like 190 organizations that kind of run the world, so to speak, or choose to, like, how to control 8 billion people, right? So does that seem like a good way of doing things? I don't know, not necessarily, but because there's 200 countries, there is a bunch of what Tangent was saying happening where you get these peripheral, like, hey, this is what we're going to do. And then there's a phrase like unintended consequences, right? And some of those unintended consequences are positive, right? Not just like a negative thing. So yes, I 1000% agree. There's going to be maintenance costs. There's going to be some overhead to transitioning like the world as we know it, so to speak, to a more sustainable way of utilizing energy, where it can be at a much lower cost to society. And those 190 plus countries, the ones that actually embrace it, are going to get a lot of peripheral benefit from people who have the resources, the marketing. They're going to be supporting those things, which then they're going to have outsized gains as a country, like Tangent was saying, because whether it's tourism or increased taxes or purchasing, because people are like, well, they don't tax me on my shit. Like, that's the country I'm going to go live in, right? We probably all, at least I have thought about leaving the United States and renouncing my citizenship for tax purposes and regulation purposes, right? So there's a lot, if I'm thinking about that, maybe I'm a fucking weirdo, but
you're not a weirdo, because I think about the same things.
That's smart.
Yeah, I think about the same things. You know what I think about constantly? Fiat on ramps on pulse chain, on and off ramps on pulse chain. I can't stop thinking. You know why I can't stop thinking? Because the variables are almost endless. Okay,
you want them, or you don't want them.
Well, I want them, but I want to talk about the variables and why something. I just want to talk about a couple things about that. So, like, I've been learning, right? We're talking about adoption, and we're talking about the banks, right? Now we're getting into the banks. We're talking about the banks. Like, these coins are going to be directly associated with the banks in one way, shape, or form, period, in my opinion, right? Period. Like, I don't know what else to say. I've never seen I ask people about tax questions, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. You know where it leads back to? It all just leads back to the bank. And then it's like, that's where the problem exists, right?
The other option is circular economy. So that where you just cut the banks out. So,
but how? But why would that happen? Why would that happen when they have all the power still? They can just do whatever they want.
Well, Well, they can't because obviously crypto is censorship resistant.
No,
so
I know, but
can't.
they can still make
so
everyone in the United
Yeah, yeah.
States do whatever they want.
No, so-
99% of the people in the United States will do exactly what goes on to the TV.
But let me finish. So if you can have enough if you can find enough vendors and merchants that accept crypto for you to sustain your life, then as soon as it gets to
That's
a point where you can, the people who you're buying things from will receive, that's how that grows. So that's the circular economy, and that grows, and then you're just cutting the banks completely out of it.
That's dope.
Their payment rails, their bullshit, their middleman crap, their rent-seeking behavior, all of it. Their ability to censor your shit, both in conversation and transaction, like individual transactions, or just you as an individual. You're just like, bye. I'm not a part of your system anymore. And
But tangent, people do as what they're told. We know this. They do what they're told.
But I think,
but imagine people seeing, like, when, say, my friends, like, say someone sees that you have become a completely sovereign individual who is no longer a slave to anyone. That's appealing. Like, so I think no matter how dumb. So people do what they're told, but people still do also act in their self-interest. If they see an easy way to become more free financially, I think
I keep telling everyone about that, and they don't believe me.
But remember, we're at 2.5% in the next 7 years. It's going to be absolutely fucking.
Yeah, but think about, we're talking about 2.5%. And what are the people that I know? Generally, the top 2.5% of people in the world. I live in
and you see the issue. You see the issue. So it's going to be a creep, and whether that we get to say 5% over the next 5 years, and then we go from 5% to 20% in a year. These numbers are not going to add up.
Sam, faster.
He's right.
So Willie Woo reckons it's been doubling every year. So we're talking next year could go 2.5 to 5, and then 5 to 10. We're talking about.
I literally have goosebumps.
It's crazy. The fact that it's not linear. The fact that it took us 14 years or whatever, 12 years to get from 0 to 2.5, the next 2.55, 10%. So this is the part of the curve where we start to go vertical. So
it's exciting. I'm very excited. I also see what I'd like to see. I don't think fiat. I kind of got a little bit of the essence what Tangent was saying, and I want to hear Orca's. I have a feeling he may agree, but I see the fiat on ramp and off ramp. What you were just saying, Tangent. I think it's just a temporary thing that I'm not really focused on because it's like a short term problem that is going to be solved.
I'm not stressed.
It's like the PR issue, like around certain things in crypto. Like yes, the FUD PR, however you want to. Vernacular you want to use, it's going to change as more and more people continue to actually understand what's going on. But I don't see the fiat on ramp and off ramp as like a major thing, because whether it's 36 months and that's solved and everybody's in that circular, like you have more autonomy with, you're just dealing with businesses that treat you in the way you want to be treated. If they don't, then you don't do business with them, kind of thing. So I see it as a temporary thing personally.
And you can also bridge back to something that does have an off ramp if you really want. It will be possible to get that economic energy if you do want to sell into dirty fiat. You will be able to do it, even if, and I've heard multiple whispers. I won't dox anyone, but I've heard multiple whispers of this specific thing being worked on by people within the Hex community. So
I've heard similar whispers.
I'm with Sam. I'm with Sam. This is like that's a low stress issue. I wouldn't stress about it at all.
I just think it's interesting because I always lead back to the stable coin, and if there will be one. You know me, I'm always talking about the stable coin, and I'm talking about the off ramp, on ramp, because I'm curious about the adoption of a lot of the projects that are already implementing themselves into the mix, right? And I'm trying to see how logistically possible is some of the things that they would like to happen for adoption possible, because I'm trying to extrapolate some of the sacrifices that I did, right? I'm trying to think about like what are the potential things that could occur. So I'm always like, because there's this big overriding thing that's like the stable coin, USDC. You can bridge it over. That could be the easiest way to have a stable coin. Then you're attached to the banks directly, right? Like is that what people want, or is that what people not want?
I don't want that. I like Tangent's idea. I'd rather just bridge back to someone else's shitcoin like Ethereum, and then I can take that out into my dirty fiat, and you can keep your collateral corporate debt bonds away from my crypto. And I think that's a good separation of crypto and central banking. Speaking back to this idea of game theory between nations, I think we forgot maybe the most fundamental game theory between nations. And it comes back to a quote, I've gone to war for less. The IMF sent out a shot across the bow to El Salvador and said, stop this Bitcoin bullshit. I'm not saying that the US would invade El Salvador. They don't have to. It's not how wars are waged anymore. El Salvador is surrounded by low-income nations that have weak GDPs that are entirely sustained by the swap lines of the Federal Reserve of the United States of America. And if it became such a threat to fiat that this one very small non-militarized nation was going to disrupt their finances, they might look at all of the hungry people in Honduras and pay them a hefty amount of money to form militias and go tear down the buildings in El Salvador. This has happened throughout history in every generation, dating back to documented mankind building cities. We wage wars and we fund wars between parties that we are not involved with. And so to just assume that you would tamp down on Bitcoin by saying, no more Bitcoin mining, it's laughable. I'll pay somebody to come bust your house up and then see how badly you want to keep mining it there. And people in El Salvador don't have the luxury of moving to a different nation and starting up a new green energy Bitcoin farm. So there are fixed capital issues that make it very difficult for people to pivot their technology because it's based on infrastructure.
Orca, question on this. Because of the society that we live in today, with, right, where's my phone? We have this, everybody has one of these or multiple, like I have multiple phones, right? Everybody has a camera and like that. So if you look at data, say like abductions or things like that, we get like an idea of the risk of something when it seems to be greater than it really is because we get it on camera today, but in the totality of the absolute world, it's decreasing because people are recognizing that they can be filmed and caught, right, doing bad shit.
Didn't stop anybody from tearing cities apart during the run-up to the 2020 election.
Correct. But what it did do is completely change the narrative so that nobody trusts the Democrat Party. Nobody in the United States trusts the Democrat Party and thinks that they're clowns. Right?
I think that's a hopeful scenario, but unfortunately, I think we forget how far stupidity spreads.
I agree. So so given that we live in a world full of cameras and quote lack of privacy, so to speak, because Tangent could be walking down the road without him knowing. I can just like film what he's doing. This happens every single day. I'm sure we've seen hundreds of thousands of videos over the last several years of just scrolling, and you see somebody doing something stupid to somebody else.
Complacency beats controversy every time. We have documents that JFK was assassinated by, plan. We have MLK assassinated by our own intelligence agencies. We know that Obama was running guns across the border to cartels. We know that we invaded nations for natural resources and not to stop terrorism. We know these things because they are documented, and the documents get released, and eventually the redactions come clear, and they're whitelisted. And you know what? Nobody gives a shit. Because if they did, we wouldn't have Russia beginning pipelines while we shut them down in the United States. If we had any literacy of any real economic basis, then we would be fine and Bitcoin would already be $1 million. But we don't have that. And we don't have a system that is nurturing that growth. We have quite the opposite.
But I see this is doing that for us, right? This is
Maybe
doing that for us. But we're in the thick of it. So it's like we have to deal with
I agree.
We have to deal with this fucking moronic decision making behavior and the absolute like ridiculous shit that comes out of people's mouths.
If I were Tangent, my goal would not be to ever engage in Orca with the energy FUD. I would be trying to host a diplomatic conversation with politicians. I think Tangent is smarter than anybody in public office in any country on earth. It's not a very high bar, so don't take it as a compliment.
So it wasn't he's like trying to throw some dirt on you. He's like trying to throw some dirt. It sounds like a compliment. He's like, just to be clear, that is not a compliment.
I was absolutely taking it as a compliment. I was absolutely taking it as a compliment.
But honestly, Tangent would be an awesome advocate for Bitcoin. I think that the idiots in office would be more likely to get on board with Bitcoin as Tangent explains to them how it would help them get reelected, as opposed to sort of the grassroots cypherpunk movement. Because I think that the fear of the unknown is what causes people to resist. But we saw that when the UK was getting ready to introduce legislation to potentially tamp down on proof of work, crypto lobbyists hurried to that problem and had a conversation that was able to delay, at least, to table that conversation. So that shows that these people have some level of discourse capability. They're able to discuss these things. But when you look at how El Salvador sort of said, we're doing this, the IMF said, you might want to think twice about that, because we have all of the resources in the world, including the media, to frame you in such a way that we can make you look like the bad guy. And we don't have to get our hands dirty to do it, because you are surrounded by nations that don't have a way out. They don't have economic prosperity. And you know what has given a lot of nations in the past economic prosperity? Being funded by wealthy elites to go to war and to take the resources of people they disagree with. And so that's where you have to be concerned. Is I think right now the movement is so, it's still in the crypto anarchist stage as far as the energy of the people sharing in it, because we're just fed up with fiat. But I think if it becomes more mature and more diplomatic, you would see far greater adoption, far faster. And the easiest way to bridge that gap is to explain to these goddamn blood-sucking idiots how it's going to help them get reelected.
I think you make a good point, and it's
Yeah, they're
also,
good points.
But the good point is also like in the argument, like against what you're saying, so to speak, because let's play this out, right? Okay, so we understand the exponential growth. We understand that's going to have more than just a doubling effect from 2.5% to 5% of adoption globally, population. That's going to have a way bigger impact on prices than that. What does that do? That gives a boatload of people like us. Remember, the people in crypto, like what you were just saying, anarchists, right? You have a lot of people, they don't like government, they don't like taxes, they don't like regulations, and they love privacy, right? So you have a tremendous amount of people in crypto who these things are very valuable to them, period, right? That's where it's at in this day and age, as you just alluded to. What do you think happened? And then you also brought up the point, which I completely agree with, in, I think it was the UK, where we're trying to come up with some things, and then the lobbyists within crypto, Bitcoin, whatever, went over there to handle that situation. So what do you think happens? Because one more point to wrap all this together. Mm-hmm. Regulations are something that takes place post. They're never proactive. Do we agree on that? Okay. So given that regulations are always reactive, or like after something happens, right? Mm-hmm. As well as there's an adoption curve that's going to make a lot of people like us stupid wealthy. And the belief system of the people who are getting stupid wealthy globally all have 4 things in common. They don't like a lot of government. They don't like regulations. They don't like taxes, and they love privacy. So what is that?
Those are the second most wealthy people in the world.
So, but what do you think happens, given that the regulation happens after the fact all the time, and that we just saw it be successful in the UK, that you're going to have a boatload of people? I've already, like, even before this, I was like, I know where I'm going to be putting some of my money to support people that actually believe in things that I believe. So I think because of like how I see the government, I think they're just so incredibly slow to respond to things, that if we can go through it in a slightly controlled manner, where there's not like where we as a community control the PR, and our voices are also getting much, much louder, and the voices of mainstream media is getting subdued, right? We all can see this happening over the last, 3, 4, 5 years. I think that the people that have a tremendous amount of wealth in crypto are going to be supporting the things that they believe in, just like the criminals have been supporting things that they believe to be fun and taking power from people, taking resources from people, fucking people over, trying to control people, all of this garbage. But now you're going to have people like us who have money, and we're only going to do it. We're going to use our resources in a very intentional and purposeful way to support those four things: less taxes, less regulation, smaller government or efficient governments, right? And more privacy.
Or whatever businesses we make will tend to those probably needs, right?
Yeah,
Right.
or there's going to be people who create the businesses, as GRC is mentioning, but also there's going to be a portion of the population set of people in crypto that have money that is going to support it. It's going to be like, okay, the political game needs to be played, right? Like, I agree. I think Richard mentioned that. I agree that you got to like at least play that to some degree, whether it's you do it yourself or you just use your resources to support the people who are going to, influence the world in the way you want to see that from a regulatory standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? Because I agree with your points, but I think it also points to like this is going to accelerate. Like more and more people understand that the only way we're going to change the world in the way that we want to see the world is like one of the reasons we're this way in the United States is because of my lack of action over the last 37 years. Because I didn't stand up and tell people that they're
Thank you for taking credit for that. I appreciate it.
Because if I had started taking action in my life faster and started calling people on their bullshit in a tactful way, there's a tactful way of approaching it, right? Clearly, and I can definitely do better at that. Like it's always an opportunity for me, but it's because of my lack of action over the last 37 years that part of the reason why we're this way today. And so many people are waking up to this. So you have this giant awakening. You have people who don't like those four pieces of things. They're also going to have a boatload of money. And I don't know. I think that could be like, there's going to be a lot of people with a lot of ammo that are really able to like.
Hey, there's Hexicans with big money probably in every state now. Imagine in 5 years, if those guys all get together and start getting involved in legislation, that's where I hear
the money helps. The money helps, but it doesn't solve the problem. If money solved the problem, Elon Musk would be president. So the sentiment is getting to the point that we need to educate people and we need to educate them tactfully. I think you nailed that. That's one of the reasons that I'm looking at going into a PhD program, and everyone, in crypto is quick to say that education is a waste of money, and I can understand
not for
that.
you, Orca. Jesus,
because there's something
your brain is explosive.
There's something to be said about how much of public policy is determined by academia. Ooh. The research drives the public discourse. And the reason for that is because nobody wants to listen to a stoned Bitcoin maxi tell them how good Bitcoin is. They want to hear somebody wearing a suit and tie who has an arbitrary 10 years of higher education under their belt, who can draw them graphs that they can't even interpret correctly and say, the smart people have decided that Bitcoin is the future. And then they go, tell me about this future where I get reelected. And you say, yep, they're one and the same. And they go, perfect. I agree with this very smart individual who's smarter than everybody arbitrarily. So having those conversations, there is this great awakening, but it's also reckless because we don't have enough Richard Harts in the world. We don't have enough GRCs and SAMs and tangents in the world. We don't have enough people making a big enough impact fast enough, because what we have seen is complacency is still a driving force. People wake up only as far as they want the answer to be given to them. So they will wake up and they will protest and they will rally, and look at what that got you. If they only rally long enough to be given an answer, as opposed to critically evaluating the best options and then employing them in such a way that it respects their best interest, you're going to end up with this ineffective movement that continues to consolidate power up the ladder. We need to have the ability to break through both in the public sector and then obviously to the private sector. But the private sector is an easy sell, you guys. Those four things make the sell. But in the public sector, you're going to need sophisticated influence. The natural gas and oil lobbyists used to be the largest lobbyist industry in America. And before them, it was tobacco. But now we have biopharmaceuticals. And there are trillions of dollars of future cash flows that are already set aside for the next 10 years for the biopharmaceutical industry. So when you have that scale, there's nobody in Hex who is going to make a blip on a senator's desk when they have Pfizer coming to their table. We're not there, guys, but we don't have to be there either.
We don't have to be there, but I think that we can, because somebody, I think,
because the money, the way that the money is set up right now, Sam, that's just not in the cards. Not if Bitcoin's going to be the one to do it, because all of that is backed in exchanges that are insured and they're banks.
No, but I don't think it's necessarily Bitcoin. I think I just think of it as much broad. I just think of it as crypto. I don't think of it as Bitcoin.
Sure.
I think of it as crypto.
And that's,
Crypto
that's where the
lobbying is
difficulty of
accelerating.
education comes in, is these people only, like we've all agreed, like most people hear crypto and then they jump to Bitcoin. And that's an issue because we have more tools in our tool belt and we can still use Bitcoin as our front runner if we want, but not, you know, they say you can't account for tastes and preferences. We know that there's a general taste on the global stage right now for green energy, but Tangent can go to bat for us and he can convince them that Bitcoin is green energy. So he'll win that fight. But there will be other people who look at their competition at the election and go, I need to be more competitive than this Bitcoin guy. Well, then they'll probably fall in love with me as I sell them the energy efficient, lower cost thing. But we know that we're on the same team. Tangent and I are on the same team because we're bringing crypto to the table. But the education has to begin with those public officials, and it has to come from academia. That is the history that we have. The alternative is a bloody revolution. And as we've pointed out, we have less violence year after year. So we would hope that would not be our path of least resistance.
Because right, I'm assuming that we probably agree on this, that you can fund, because I've also thought about this route for the big pharma route, right? Because I can fund research, assuming I have the resources. I can fund research that tells us whatever fucking story I want to tell. And
yeah.
I can use that to justify, like, hey, I got smart people to take a look at my shit, funded this research, and I can fund it in a way where it doesn't look like it came from me, right? It's not that complicated to figure out. And I can tell that story. So I agree with you, right? Like people in government want to be able to make intelligent decisions, but they also want to be able to cover.
Am I losing you guys?
I think Sam froze.
I don't hear Orca.
And Orca's muted.
I heard your mic kind of spaz out, Orca. Did something turned off on your end?
Sam's completely frozen. This
Sam,
might be a good
get
opportunity.
your ass off my stream, you gorilla.
I was waiting for a while just to chuck in that when Orca was talking about violence between nation states funded by others, possibly, I saw an amazing video by Ray Dalio about the rise and fall of empires. I think everyone should watch it. It'll be easy to search. Just go on YouTube and search Ray Dalio, Rise and Fall of Empires or something. And he talks about how things get increasingly violent as the incumbent power believes that their grip on that power is slipping. So I'm sure that happens not just between nation states, but also industries as well. So the tactics that will be used against crypto from incumbent industries that fear that reduction of their power and control will be probably higher than what people think.
And weird stories and like crazy black swan stuff that has gone like hyperbolic because it's the narrative.
Oh, Sam's frozen again. Maybe I got my Bitcoin shadowy super coders to just like DDoS the shit out of them so that we can just.
Well, I think Orca got sent to the cleaners too. What if somebody just knocked down my door and just like shot me in the head online? And you just took over full screen somehow and like like played some commercial like right off the jump.
Yeah, quite often I go to tweet things out that are pretty hectic on politicians or super rich people, and sometimes I reword what I'm writing just because You know, I heard that over here, it only costs 10K to get someone tapped. So, like, I'm
That's
like,
sketchy.
that's not a lot of money. So,
Anyone
people
who
need to
I've
be
ever
really-
talked to S about, guys, I'm sorry, like straight up.
I mean, anybody.
Yeah, straight up, dude. Like I'm being honest. Hold on. I'm sorry about everything I've done. Okay. Please do not go anywhere near me. I would rather if we just did not speak of each other anymore. That would be ideal. Okay. Crazies, get away from me. Get away.
crazies who have reasonable disposable income.
Yeah, like way too much.
with the body trail, maybe that's not a good phrase, with the number of graves following the Clinton administration, we know it happens. Like there's no doubt.
Oh yeah.
I don't have even the smidgenest amount of doubt. Like
Suicide by police officer.
Or when you're
Oh,
walking,
that's very normal where I'm from.
you trip
In
and
this
fall.
area, like I feel like, dude, I watched
Go
this
ahead.
video. I watched this video, no lie. Like, if you're in my area and are watching this, this is not a lie. I was watching this video yesterday. It was a barber shop. It was probably like 3 miles from where I'm at. And dude just walked in, just popped a cap in the first person he saw, and then
What?
like there happened to be a undercover cop getting his hair cut, and he just like shot him like 10 times. And then the undercover cop was like real sketched out, like he got all in the zone because like, you know, like he was all jacked up. Like and there was a video in the area. So he like the dude walked in, no hesitation, boom, first person he saw. Right in the center mass, killed her right away. It was a chick. And she was the one cutting the hair. And then but the guy that was actually getting his hair cut was the undercover cop. So the dude, he like popped a cap in her and then was like walking around and kind of like laxed up because he thought everyone would be sketched out. But this dude was an undercover cop and he had a gun. So he like just like slowly like walked away and just like turned around and just was like, and then like that dude was all jacked up, like pulling the bodies into the middle of the street. Like, I mean, into the middle of the barber trying to like, he was sketched out as shit. Cause you never know if there's more guys coming, right? Like you never know. Cause he's the only guy in there. Like, so he's worried like, oh, his boys have probably heard gunshots already. They're outside. But that didn't end up happening.
The thing about just the adrenaline, I mean, like somebody just gets shot and then you literally pull your gun out and you shoot somebody, even if you have the experience in the training, like some officers do, like I'm sure that's still like a very exhilarating, not necessarily with the good connotations associated with exhilarating, but like exhilarating experience where it's like hard to calm yourself. Like
He saved somebody. He saved like 5 people in real time, like within 3 seconds. Literally, there was like 10 people in that place, and he just like shot the first person he saw. Like and that dude was like on a suicide mission. Like supposedly he had done that like 3 nights in a row. So he was just waiting. He was just waiting for something.
So basically, what you're saying is you need to move the F out of wherever the F.
Well, it's not really me. I don't leave my residence ever for any.
He's
why
like,
why would I do such a stupid thing? Like
he's like, I've got bars on my windows, bro. I'm safe. Like it's good.
No, it's not even that. My neighborhood's really nice. Like where I live, particularly, it's nice, but like a few miles each way, it's like not nice anymore.
Yes. Okay, so I have to run. I thought this conversation was freaking awesome. I think
awesome.
I don't know if you guys are going to stay on here. Tangent, Orca, always enjoy conversation with you guys. It's been a pure pleasure. If you guys enjoyed this, GRC, are you staying on a little longer?
Yeah, I'll stay on. If these guys want to chat for another 15, 20 minutes, I'll stay on.
Sure.
If anybody found value in this conversation or just wants to help out, I have a contest with Motley, who was in the comments earlier today. He's got over 14,000 followers. It's basically David versus like Goliath, and I'm trying to catch up to his followers by July 30th. And he actually made a bet publicly that if I beat him, he gives me 50,000 hacks. So if you want to help out, there's a link down below. Yes. There's a link down below. It's towards the bottom. Click over to Twitter, follow, retweet something that I have up there that you find value in. I'm on Twitter daily, multiple times a day. Plus, you get to interact with awesome people like Tangent and Orca. in GRC. So appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you guys soon. I look forward to the next conversation where we all get together. Appreciate you guys.
Well, Sam, right before you hop off, unless we already lost you, we have to ask Tangent if the next time the four of us get back together, will Bitcoin be higher or lower than it is on this stream?
In fairness, you did say if it breaks under 40 last stream, you would be worried.
I think the problem with that is though, like we actually don't have that's, you know how these sorts of predictions are difficult anyway. And then
For you,
last time, I said last time that because we actually don't know when we're going to meet again, it's a variable time frame as well. So it's adding an additional variable in something that's already difficult to predict. I'm going to go with higher just because. So I will admit to you, the thing that is the last thing that is keeping me bullish is how bearish everyone is. Everyone is bearish now. And that to me is the last thing that's keeping me bullish. When people go silent, exit crypto, and basically just rage quit or just stop, just lose interest, then I'll probably flip bearish.
Okay.
Assuming that by that point,
shifts.
when the sentiment shift is like neutral, if we haven't recovered, then I'll be a bear. I mean, I'm going to be a very late bear. Obviously, I'm going to be a super late bear.
Let's just say, Tangent, you're not long on any of your Bitcoin leveraging.
I don't leverage. I don't leverage trade.
But if you were, would you be long right now?
Well, I mean, I am technically I'm long by holding spot.
Short term.
So I'm technically long. Like whenever you're holding Bitcoin, you're long Bitcoin. I mean, I tell people not. I tell people not holding any is effectively like being short. Really.
Maybe.
You sort of.
That's true. That's a good point.
Sort of.
That's Molly's comment.
So
if we break 28K Bitcoin, we're going to Goblin Town, boys. What is Goblin Town?
It's ugly, bro. You don't want to be in Goblin Town. Does it sound nice? Wouldn't you rather be in like Spring Prairie or something like that? You don't want to be in Goblin Town.
What do the goblins do for fun?
Appreciate you guys. I look forward to that.
See you, Sam.
Have a great one, Sam.
I have to admit, Hex has saved my entire portfolio multiple times, and I thought
now the truth comes out. How many? Hour 57.3.
I've always openly admitted that. Look, guys, let's be real.
We're joking.
Wait, let's be real about this. No. I need to be real about this because people probably think I've become increasingly like mouthy about how pro Bitcoin I am, but I think it's because I need to do this while I'm trying to bait Richard into debating me, like, or to stream with me.
That's smart. That's smart.
I need to increase how mouthy I am, and I need to show myself to the Bitcoin community, and that I am going to represent that side of the debate. But you guys need to keep in mind, my channel has been basically Hex focused since Hex came out. Like, so I've
calling yourself a smart guy? Because I think that's just what you are. You're a smart guy, and you have a lot of Bitcoin. You've been in the game for a while, and now you like buying Hex instead of Bitcoin.
Bitcoin and Hex are my largest bags by far. They're similar order of magnitude, but I have more Hex than Bitcoin. I've got more Hex than Bitcoin in dollar terms, but they're similar order of magnitude. But I hold them both because I still believe in them both, and I also see it as a risk mitigation. A risk mitigation that, I say to people, if you believe that Hex is decorrelated from other cryptos, other assets, but then you don't hold anything else, you're not getting the benefit of its decorrelation. So, if your portfolio is 100% in a decorrelated asset, then you're
like only buying gold and no stocks. It's like, well, what are you doing? Do you not want any appreciation? You just want to be stuck in the middle of everything.
So we're talking about different use cases in a way too, like, in a way, like they're both stores of value, yes, but like what you were talking about with the Bitcoin network, like clearly that's not able to be done. As far as like you can't be like using Hex for any sorts of transactional purposes.
I have never changed my mind on Hex being the most likely one to appreciate in price. So that, and I've always said, if all you care about is gains, Hex all the way. But for
If
me,
you just want to stare at red candles and sweat all day.
Some people have
Pick one.
Ferraris, Lambos, McLaren. They don't care.
If you just-
Basically, what Tangent's
If you
saying
just
is
want to have
when
to
you
watch
have
the
a
news all day
McLaren,
for
a
legislation.
Porsche, a penthouse in Peth, you don't give a fuck about a price appreciation. You're like, fuck that. I already got big fat bags, you little turds. That's what he's saying.
So no, but so you know how some people will do things because they want the world to be a better place for their children, yeah? So I don't fight for free speech because I think that it's actually going to get bad enough in my lifetime necessarily. But I know that if we don't fight for free speech now, future generations are going to be completely effed. So that sometimes you do things that are not in your immediate interest. Even, you know, they say the world becomes a great place where old men plant trees that whose shade they will never be able to sit under or some shit.
I totally agree with that.
You know what I mean?
Freedom is fought by the current generation to save the future generation.
I totally agree. I feel that way every day when I wake up. I'm like, if this is even going to be able to be possibly able to happen long term, where like corruption does not win in our lifetime, like you at least have to try to do stuff properly. Like that's why I don't give a shit about money. I always tell people I don't care about money right now. I'm 28. I don't need money. I'm working. I gotta I'm trying to pay attention to different stuff. I don't necessarily care about, but there will be a time in my life where I do more, right? And that's important. And it's not like I don't have money like to support myself. It's just like I don't care right now. Yes, I could leverage $1.5 million things to make more money right now, but I don't want to.
If that message resonates with you,
it does.
Then I believe it is worth exploring some of these other attributes of what makes a cryptocurrency great before just immediately assigning the king status to the one that is going up the most, is likely to go up the most, is predictably.
Yeah, but a lot of people are broke. But like me, for sure. Like, oh, for sure. I know what you're saying. Like for me, like
so I think both are important.
If Hex goes to zero, I tell everyone this all the time. My life changes this much. This much.
If Hex goes
to zero, this is other than obviously my channel will change and shit. Like
you would see tears coming out of my
but I promise you in
stream,
3 days.
man.
I promise you at 3 days I'd be staring at my computer just like this, talking to Sam on the phone. Like what's going on next? What do we got? Like, you know what I mean? Because I don't care. I'm not other people's slaves. I have a life of my own. Like, you know, like I'm not like if Richard Hart's shit is fucked up, like that sucks for him and his shit, but like not me. I don't give a fuck. Yeah, I have huge bags. Yeah, I have huge bags. I mean, yeah, I have bags and T-shares and all that sort of shit. And I've never seen a technology that I have felt more deeply connected to.
Man, do you know?
Created.
Do you know what I would be? Do you know what I would be so interested to see, which I don't think we ever will be able to? I would love to see what Richard Hart is really invested in macro, or in all asset classes, because I guarantee you, well, I mean, I can't say with 100% certainty, but I believe he would be investing in non-crypto assets. As in you can see he already does with things like watches, but if he's buying diamond encrusted watches, he's probably also buying other shit that's not crypto. So
he says he only buys things that appreciate in value. He saes that all the time.
I wonder if he would ever share the proportional allocation.
I don't think so.
You know,
I don't think he would, because he has to drive the narrative that crypto is literally the greatest thing to have your money invested in, to encourage people to invest in his products.
Yeah.
Like, as in, he doesn't want to, I don't think he would ever want to encourage people to diversify. But I agree with I agree with the basis of his statement.
Sure.
And that's why I actually am I'm crypto and cash. That's it. I do not fuck with other assets. I hate them. Like I hate the corruptibility. But if I had his wealth level, you best believe that I would be
for tax purposes, you must. Like
Well,
for
I think
like
it would be
at
more.
some
I think it'd be
point,
more
you
to
have have
for
LLCs
me.
for everything, right? Like that you isn't there like all sorts of. I always assume these guys do every trick in the book, like in my head, like in my
Oh yeah,
got a
in my
content
head
lawyer.
space, like
dude. He would have lawyers and tax advisors out the yin yang.
yeah, like I don't think
He-
they're just so rich that they're like, like they're just like, okay, how can we maximize this efficiently? Blah blah blah. Like they do everything in their lives, right? Like
yes. Yeah.
So I wonder
so
how
what-
that
yeah.
looks. I would love to like imagine a green room conversation recorded. Richard Hart, like obviously nothing incriminating, but like the kind of stuff they talk about, like the concepts. I wonder how high level they are. I pray that one day that I can talk to people that are thinking like that. And
Can you imagine? Can you imagine an Alex Saunders style comment of like, "I hate half my community" or some shit like that?
Yeah, right.
Fuck.
Yeah, that'd be brutal. Yeah, he's been roasted a few times for things like that. No, I think that is an interesting thing, man, because I get a little nervous sometimes when we talk about don't even start a business, just invest in crypto. Well, cool. That's a really cute idea, but there's also something to be said about the same man said the world is comprised of products and services and everything else is accounting. Nobody gives a shit about a world where the only product is a digital representation of money, and then we all just sit around and starve to death. So there is a need for innovation and infrastructure at the actual physical, tangible level. Does that mean that we all need to go ape into the stock market? No, definitely not. If you're investing and you're speculating with disposable income, discretionary income, by all means, crypto should be where that money is flowing. Educated crypto positions, not just the new project that doesn't have a test net yet, but it's promising you the world and they want your money up front, but be wise with that, be wise and invest in the good stuff. But if we don't have people that are willing to take that crypto and then turn it into products and services that improve the standard of living for other people, then what's the point? So we do need both, right?
Agree with you so much. Yeah.
Alex Saunders tried to do a comeback video today.
Oh no!
Bro! I tweeted at him. I'm so proud of this
You want
tweet.
to pull it up? We can pull it up.
He blocked me over it. He blocked me over it. I'll grab it while I tell you what it is.
I can't remember why he blocked me.
I'll pull this up too. If this is legit, like I'm not super worried about. I want to see what the hell this is. Absolutely. Because this dude's an absolute scumbag. And the more people that know that, the better in my eyes.
He's real not good at crypto.
He's not getting any positive press at this point. Like it's not one of those things where it's like people are saying his name, so he's like going to get clout. Like, no, this dude's like scumbag level 7,000.
Yeah.
Like no one, like anyone who says anything about him is going to just be like, dude.
That's the sad thing about the internet, man, is that you can block all the truth tellers and still like prey on the naive people. Last night we were in a Twitter space and a scammer came in, and I guess he had been in the Twitter space before I showed up. And after about 13 seconds of me speaking to him in the space, he disappeared pretty quickly. But imagine, and luckily that space has a lot of other intelligent people who can quickly figure out that this is kind of a guy that's preying on you. But imagine if that was just a random Twitter space that didn't have hexagons, didn't have smart people in crypto, and then they heard this person come in and shill their rug. I mean, they're gonna get a couple of victims. So somebody like Saunders is blocking us so that he can prey on them.
Did you guys hear that there was in some country people were hiring billboards and putting ads on them, pretending to be Binance with like the logo and stuff like that. But
right.
It was a scam. And so Binance is now trying to sue the company that the advertising companies and the billboard companies for allowing them to, and also try to sue the people who put the ads up, because obviously it's fraud. But obviously people get caught by that shit, because you see a billboard and you're like, that's got to be legit. Like, well, it seems even more legit than something that you see online, right? Because you'd think it would be vetted by that sort of thing. Sorry,
I don't know if I can watch this on stream because all the comments are super loving, and I don't know if I can't.
We'll check it out on our own, and we'll convene on Twitter.
I don't want to be insensitive towards whatever this guy's got going on either. Like, obviously he's a scam artist piece of crap, but like he could obviously be like, I don't like what I always message him, and I just say, dude, just pick another sport, brother. Like, just get out of here, man. Just like, you know what I mean? Like,
get advice.
Go play golf or something, go sell something, go do something else, bro. Like, I don't care about your opiate addiction. Why are you still here? Why you ruined that? Why are you still talking, you fucking phony bitch?
Yeah.
Like, seriously, shut the fuck up and get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
He's such a
No,
freaking
that's
clown.
Tangent's tweet was right on the point, because like that was disgusting what he tried to do, faking it was all because of a mental illness and opioid addiction and stuff. And it's like, come on, man, your hindsight empathy grab is pathetic. It's almost as pathetic as the project you started.
Like, tell your grandma and your mom that shit and like pray about it, bro.
Right.
Like, fucking get out of here. Just go somewhere else. It's okay. Like, you don't have to be
and,
here.
and like I have people in my life who, you know, have suffered with mental illness and things like that, and substance abuse and things like that. But also none of them are actively asking people to throw millions of dollars at them for promise coins and things like that. So he's just a disgusting person. He doesn't have a moral code, and I'd have no issue telling him that to his face.
Hey, Orca, was it your tweet? Was it your tweet about your brother? Was it right? Dude, that tweet, of all the things I've ever read on Twitter, I think that tweet hit me the hardest, emotionally, or how it, like, what or whatever category it is in, where I was like, God damn, like I was like, fuck, like maybe I should have tried harder with people in my life that were like going through similar shit, or what, like you have changed the way I will handle shit like that in future will be different because of that tweet.
It's cool. But, you know, and I also have to speak to the other side of that coin, because as beautiful as the comment sounds, there's an alternative reality that existed for over a decade, where I was the hopium addict, and I was the one that just, you know, I endlessly believed in my brother, but there was no promise that anything was ever going to improve. And there's the real risk of, you know, when somebody's drowning and you go to save them, they're more likely to drown you to save themselves than they are to relax and take your help. So I always want people to be, first and foremost, aware of their own personal health and making sure that they don't sacrifice their own life in order to save somebody who's not actively saving themselves. You know, it can only be when your cup is full that you allow it to spill over and try to fill others.
Save when you're a leader in your community, just by being a leader in your community, you know, instead of, you know, focus on yourself is what I mean in general.
Yeah.
Like, you just, if what are you going to do? Be a pleb and save all the plebs? Like, what is that going to do? It doesn't work like that. You got to either get your position ready, get money first, and then make a difference. Like, it's fun. You don't have to freaking like sweat your balls off to make a difference. Like, get the money shit, figure out your shit, be a little selfish, grind your shit out, and then fucking focus on your goals so you can actually make an impact. So you can actually have some punching power. You can start a business. Everyone's broke. Everyone's fucking broke, dude. Like,
and you know, when it comes to
2022 and people
abuse,
are broke and they have computers.
When it comes to substance abuse in the modern age, a lot of it stems from, at least in the experiences I've had with people beyond just my brother, a lot of it does stem from an economic, you know, pressure. People feel this pressure because you can work as hard as you want for as many hours as you want and still never get ahead the way that the system is designed these days. And I think that can be especially for people who were born in kind of this golden media era of the 80s into the 90s and the 2000s. We were raised with this idea of you can be anything you want in the world. And that's not untrue, but that's also a little disingenuous to think that everybody can be the president of the United States, right? So there are some limitations. I
have trouble with limitations in my own brain, because like,
that's a good thing. But
yeah,
other
like,
people
I totally, and I know what you mean. I'm a sick puppy for sure.
Yeah, because some people will hear the message but not understand the journey to achieve the outcome that they want. And so if you've been told, or your ego is kind of being pampered as a child to believe that you're almost guaranteed to become whatever you want, then you're going to be very frustrated when the world doesn't just fall in front of you the way you want it to. And I think that's where a lot of frustration stems from. And then individuals will seek salvation in numbing the senses that are kind of disappointing them. It can become this unfortunate cycle of doubting yourself because the world didn't do what you were told it was going to do for you. and now you're stuck in this, well, should I try harder? I thought it was going to be given to me, and I was already kind of doing my best. Most people are trying their best, and then they just don't. Not everybody becomes the number one Billboard artist.
Receive is counterintuitive as well. Like,
yeah,
the message you receive, or as a young man, the message I received is if you just do what you're told, everything's going to work out fine. And I did exactly what I wasn't told, and everything worked out way better than I thought.
Crypto is an opportunity to correct that misnomer, that logical misstep.
And I always talk shit about doctors and stuff. And I have a couple doctors, and I do talk shit to them. And it's only because I don't appreciate intellectually the value proposition of wasting 8 years of your life when exactly what you need to do is be studying currently while you're working. Do you understand what I mean? Like, there's so much advancement going on. I know my doctor for certain is in that doctor's office until 10 p.m. every single day, goes home tired as piss, and wakes up, does it again, and the next day works 7 days a week, most weeks. And he's not studying stuff. I guess what I do? I'm chillaxing, bro. I'm studying shit all day long. And then when I go there, and he prepares when I go. I know he does, because he knows I'm going to hammer him. Put pressure on people. I put pressure on people intellectually in my personal life, my doctors, my family, like a little bit of pressure, not a lot of pressure. I put pressure on my friends too. I'm like, you guys just say the same narrative over and over, but you've never even fucking looked into it. Like, I'm not going to listen to you. You know what I mean? And it's the same. It's just a lot of the same shit.
Yeah. There's the work to reward ratio is such an illusion. If you get a chance to own businesses and network with business owners, you'll quickly understand that the wage-taking sector is not as random and merit-based as you may wish to believe that it is. It's structured, and it is normalized, and the people become numbers. And that is because at the end of the day, we have budgets, and the business can only run if we're profitable. It'll only last as long as we're able to bring in that income. So unfortunately, people continue to strive for positions that in the past were more rewarding. And we lose sight of the reward because of things like inflation and these horrible monetary policies and these tax increases. You guys, there was a time when America didn't have tax. Tax is a new concept, okay? This is a new thing. And now we have tax that's in many cases upwards of 50% of people's income at times.
Wasn't that one of the main reasons that America got founded, was because they were pissed off that they were going to tax tea in the UK or something? So they were like,
so there were several reasons, but even when the monarchy was imposing trade tariffs on the colonies of the United States, the individual states themselves did not have taxes. They didn't need them because they had landowners, essentially like royal lords of the olden days. Now, they use indentured servitude, and in many cases that was a way for people to earn their way out of indentured servitude and to own land because the land was abundant. But there wasn't this need for a central authority that was able to dictate biopharmaceutical mystery recipes to people. There wasn't a need for the oil and gas industries to suppress the inevitable evolution of EV technology. There was simpler times, right? But even now that we have more complex times, there's a really simple sample size of one. You know, they say you can prove anything with a sample size of one, but it's a good anecdotal substantiation to the concept behind not needing taxes. And the idea here is that taxes are simply shifting who is spending the money from you to somebody else. And you think that by combining a bunch of other people's money, that you somehow increase the efficiency with which it's spent. But if you look at California, there was a situation during last summer, 2 summers ago now, where there was such a propensity of homelessness. There were so many people struggling with homelessness that the state government of California put together a budget to purchase a concrete block of land and to put tents on that block of land. And that was going to be shelter for homeless individuals. The amount of money spent per person came out to roughly $1,800 a month for the tent. Okay. the three of us can spend $1,800 a hell of a lot better than that.
Mm.
So the idea that we need taxes because they provide public goods is a ridiculous argument.
yeah.
And
That's
you
not
sound like a child because
That's not
we've
even-
always been
Yep.
better at spending money than governments have been. And that will
Has
never
anyone-
change.
Ever been to an office building, a government office building, and just watched the lack of fucking death? I used to do construction on top of a lot of government buildings, and I would walk through them all day, use the bathroom, such.
They are
Yeah.
merely entities to get people reelected so that they can enjoy an elitist class life because
Can't-
everyone else works for them.
You can't find a conversation in there that has any depth. You sit, you listen. People are
Just
on their
bureaucracy.
phone. They look dead inside.
Yeah.
And they don't even.
They're
know
just
why.
zombies. They get paid to make sure the world moves slowly.
They're
And I think we're
impatient.
reaching. We need this world to turn a little quicker. Bitcoin is helping us do that. Crypto is helping us do that, and that's why unfortunately we have to go and teach these zombies the truth so that they can get the hell out of the way. Because otherwise, they're just going to keep using their teamwork between the Federal Reserve, and they're going to create crises. Then they're going to tax you for the crises. Then they're going to bail out their friends. Then you're going to just continue to take the brunt of this shrinking constriction on the general population as it becomes hyper-focused wealth to the top. So that's why we need to have these discussions. Not everybody who is in bureaucratic situations and in politics is a bad person. Unfortunately, they just happen to also be really dumb on average, and their jobs are designed to do things slowly. But people suffer when the world doesn't keep up with demand, and that's where we're at right now.
I agree with everything you just said so strongly about that stuff. Yep. Crypto comment. Bitcoin and lots of other cryptocurrencies have just crashed so hard that they've actually got capitulation wicks on their chart now. So
I believe
Can you
it.
say
I
that?
haven't seen the chart for a minute.
That's a term I don't understand yet.
also basically just the price just drops so savagely all in one instant that
Would you like to pull up a chart?
Yeah, pull up the Bitcoin chart if you can. So
I
when he's
can't-
saying capitulation,
You don't have
Jim,
to.
what
Yeah, I'll do
he's
it,
saying
I'll
is
do it.
that everybody's diamond hands until they're not. And
Mm.
when you reach kind of the critical mass at which a ton of people who probably were the strongest hands go, "Ooh, this is too much. I can't handle the pressure anymore. I'm selling. It's going to keep going lower." It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, and that's the
So
capitulation.
it's more like a psychological measurement
Yes.
in a way. Like,
Yes,
oh, that's interesting.
reflected in the price. Yep.
Very
And then
good.
after capitulation, you might find new structure at like a lower bound range, and then you
I
can build
see.
back up.
It's
from
like
that.
a redistribution almost.
Yeah, exactly what it is. So when
And
Richard
like
says
another-
it's not the bottom until we shake out all of the NFT people that bought it $1 million, he says when you hear them screaming bloody murder in the streets, that's capitulation. That's when they emotionally have had enough and they are willing to give up this fantasy world that they are never sellers, and they have to sort of bow to the forces that be.
Now, can this immediately cause buy pressure right back to the upside?
It can.
Well, yeah,
That's-
you're seeing the bounce right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
but that
Because,
doesn't.
and
In
people
this
like
case,
me-
it could
people
go
like
lower.
me wait for that
sure.
shit. I saw that shit on Hex this morning. I logged onto my stuff and I bought some right away.
Yeah. So
that's
there's capitulation can still lead to further capitulation, and that's the essence. So like capitulation can be a range of dumping, but the big wicks that Tangent's talking about, that's letting you know that there are a couple of people that are ready to panic sell. They want out now, and they'll do it at any price.
Where does this mix with the leverage talk?
Yeah, so they compound each other. So you do get those liquidation cascades where those people panic selling into like not many buyers or not many buy orders. Then if liquidations occur, then that causes additional downward pressure. So this price spiked all the way down to 31K, Bitcoin 31K. So we've effectively gone to the low end of the 30K range.
Mm-hmm.
But right now we're pumping back up to sort of 32K. Let's take a look at the Hex price. Similar on Hex, but just not as extreme in terms of like the time scale at which that bottom occurred. And now we're back up to so we went all the way down to almost 14 cents, and we're back up at 15 cents.
I was all over that.
And
So
and
this is a 30% drop from where, you know, when Orca said the euphoria that we had when we almost hit 20 or just above 20.
Yeah, but I feel like we had the
30%.
same euphoria just a few months back when we hit like the same range. I mean, it's kind of that range, right?
That's how thick the emotions get. And to your question, GRC, about how leverage comes into play as well, one of the major issues when leverage is a primary component of the buying and selling forces of your asset is that as Bitcoin begins to dump, the relative risk reward of leverage trading for the long side may become more appealing than buying spot Bitcoin. Tangent's too smart to go and take out a ton of leverage to the long side right now because, one, he would rather just support the asset itself, but two, because he understands that no matter how much betting you do to the upside, that doesn't buy the asset. You have to buy that asset up to fulfill the appreciation on your leverage. So as Sam has done like options trading, Sam's options aren't worth anything if people don't want to buy the thing. Right. So you're taking more, you are willing to expose yourself to greater risk because you're hoping everyone else does the hard thing for you and they spend their energy on the asset itself so that you can ride the gain and make out in the interim.
Guys, for people that don't know, we're doing a 24-hour Pulse chain launch stream. So when Pulse does launch, I will be going live 24 hours. I'm hoping these gentlemen will jump on with me.
You bet.
Oh, yo, Day 43 wants to do the same thing.
Well, he's getting wrecked.
Multi-stream, multicast.
No, I'm kidding. No,
well, I mean,
he's gonna have his cell phone here and his laptop.
You guys could talk about combining forces. Or,
I would love
we
to. We just want to be there. There's going to be a lot of rug pulls, a lot of scams. People need to cover it.
So I'll tell you the same thing I told him. For me personally, that I'm going to be, like when it launches, I am going to be doing shit. like as in frantically. I'm going to be frantically doing
as
shit.
He has the FOMO shirt on.
So I definitely won't be going on any streams for about like at least maybe the first 6 or 12 hours or something like that. But I'll definitely come by and visit your streams.
We're gonna be streaming. We'll see what happens. If there's I just want to be here to cover stuff. I don't have much. I got nothing I need to be doing personally.
Are you planning to start it? Oh, sorry, you go, Orca.
Oh, I was just gonna say I'll make time to be on there.
I'll start it right away when I know, and then I'll just we'll just go from there. Because again, I just have to do a couple moves, and that's all I need to do. So like, I could do it on my separate shit and just get on with it. For me personally, I'm sure Tangents is a bit more difficult, more shit to do.
I'll be there. I'll be looking for opportunities. I'm very well prepared, just given what I have now. But I will be hunting some opportunities, and if it is the case that people are giving us great deals for whatever reason, I may not be as available.
Yeah, and I'm also under the I'm not super skilled in the art of moving my assets around, so I can do it, but I don't necessarily do it.
See, that's awesome, and to find a productive way to spend your time instead. I mean, you'd hate to FOMO into a couple trades just because you go, well, the transaction fees.
Yeah, like I got
maybe I'll make a play or two.
I got the multipliers I want. I got the shit I wanted. Like, I did it on the first day. I'm like, for me, I know that I just don't have that much other assets either,
Mm-hmm.
I think there will be people who will actually lose money relative to what they could have had by over strategizing and over trading and stuff in the early stages. So sitting tight, I think, is a completely reasonable strategy, particularly if you are happy with the amount that you sacked for each project.
Right. Yeah. Like I was there paying attention the whole time. So I was in there and I haven't had another shot in crypto before. Like this is,
and even if you're not happy with your positions, you guys don't FOMO in just because it goes live. Like Hex didn't 10,000x overnight, right? So you have so much time. And there's going to be green candles and red candles. Just because it's deflationary doesn't mean it's going infinite price overnight. So just take your time, take deep breaths, talk to people if you're not sure of what you're doing. And it's not financial advice, it's guidance. It's just giving you some basic tips on how to not wreck yourself would go a long way.
Hex is an excellent example because its lowest point was actually weeks in,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
about a month in.
In terms
Yeah.
of its ratio in the AA.
Like day 28, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, you have a little
Yeah.
bit of dry
So-
powder, and you can change your position in a hot minute.
So
Yeah. And that's where, when you're buying the dips on the very, very new thing, that's where you can get outrageous magnitudes of return. To Tangent's point, the difference between, say, Hex at 1,000th of a penny versus 5/10,000th of a penny, that scales as the price appreciates. That is a very powerful ability to enter or to dollar cost average. So if you have dry powder, I understand it's much simpler to spend it all at once and to just get it over with, but you don't have to, because we know that these assets don't just go up forever, and dollar cost averaging has been a pretty proven strategy to mitigate some of the volatility that you simply can't predict, right? You can't predict the future. So you'd rather take strategic bets in succession as opposed to praying that you bought the bottom.
Hey, one other comment I wanted to make when we started talking about the prices crashing. So I won't talk about what chain it's on or what the project is, because I don't want to shill other shit. But that I play around with an equivalent of what liquid loans will be on pulsechain on other chains, and the amount of liquidations that are occurring right now in these troves, which is basically where you lock up your over collateralized, the vaults that you.
Are we talking of Terra Luna?
No.
Okay.
No. So these are over collateralized loans. So these are actually the same code, like very similar code to what liquid loans is going to be, because they're all clones of each other.
So
there's just like one on it. There's one on
so
every chain.
Liquidity has other forks.
Liquidity is the Ethereum version. I'm doing because ETH fees are so stupid high. I play around with the ones that are not on Ethereum, but they are EVM compatible chains.
How are they looking right now? Are
they're
liquidations
getting absolutely wrecked. Oh yeah, yes.
The market's really crashing everywhere right now. Bad.
So once I realized that the market was going down, and so keep in mind that everything I'm saying here will be applicable to liquid loans once Pulse is out. Once I saw that the market was trending down, I started keeping an eye on my trove and my vault, and knew that I wanted to make sure that it's the whole, like, you don't need to be the fastest swimmer. You just need to be faster than one person so you don't get eaten by the shark. So I just kept making sure that my vault was like at around between 170 and 180% over collateralized, which some would say is actually too risky. You know, I know there's a lot of people thinking about doing really high ones, but I'm not using an amount of money. So actually,
you don't want to put 10 grand to play with a couple of pennies.
I should actually mention I had a vault liquidated very early on, because I didn't realize that as soon as you go under 110, anyone can pull the trigger on liquidating your loan. It doesn't actually need to go below 100. So that's like that's the safety that they have to mitigate against fast moving markets and that sort of thing. So 110% is actually 100%, i.e. anything below 110%, someone can liquidate your loan. So I had one liquidated because I just didn't realize that. So I thought it was fine. And then it got smoked. So I learned that lesson. That's a lesson that people need to be aware of. And then, so to give you guys some idea, about 8 of the vaults got liquidated, and they must have been huge. So I can see what's going on because it tells you what percentage of the stability pool you are. Yeah. So say you're 1% of the stability pool, and a vault gets liquidated and you get like 10 of the native token of that chain, then you know that there was 1,000 within that 1,000 of that token within that vault that got liquidated. Makes sense. So I've been just seeing some very big vaults getting liquidated, and basically I guess I'm being forced to buy incredibly cheap native token of that chain because of that. So you're always getting at least 10% lower than what the thing, but then obviously the price can continue going down, but it's been hectic. So I think there were about 20 vaults in total, and now there's only 12. So about 8 vaults have been liquidated in the last couple of days.
It's too bad, man. Yeah, people need to be aware of the risks. The idea that by putting together a slideshow that says the price will go up forever, good luck with that strategy.
That is so true, man. That is so true.
I like
You
to
know-
I like to under promise and over deliver. Not
Yes.
In an ideal world where the price goes up forever, this is the greatest innovation known to man. Like, okay, well, wake me up when the price goes up forever, and then why would I need the loan?
Yeah, we need the nuance in there,
But
particularly
it'll be useful.
Particularly if
useful
the
in some
people
ways.
being onboarded are no coiners, then you definitely need to.
That's the
pitch-
real point, right? You
pitch
need
the
people
reality.
that are going to be able to get maximum utility out of those protocols are going to be people who are more financially literate and who are prepared and keeping their eye on those macro level events.
Yeah, it's more on the prep. I'm telling you, because like I'm
It is.
telling you guys, I didn't know shit like 100 days ago. Like it's not that difficult. You just
Right.
you got to dig in. Like it's not.
I mean,
that-
for me, even with Hex, dude, and Hex is more complicated than, in my opinion, than understanding these loan protocols. But like you get to a level where you're comfortable with how well you know it until you talk to someone who's taken it a step further. And then you got to keep growing and expanding. And you go, oh my gosh, you know, like Tangent said, he goes, well, I didn't know 110% was 100%. It's like, well, I did. But if we had that conversation, he could have been prepared and maybe saved one volt. But Tangent and I are just two people. There are tons of people, and not all of them are going to read the paper, unfortunately. Not all of them are going to give a shit about the math behind how to protect themselves. Some of them are just going to choose to believe that nothing can ever go wrong. So, and look, I'm not saying that we can save all plebs. I'm just saying that it's something to be discussed, and to stop selling things with this over-promising approach. Just be very frank and to the point so that you empower the most number of people to support that ability.
Yeah, I was very lucky that the reason I was playing around with it was literally just at, like, you know, when people say I'm in it for the tech, I literally was, because I was just trying to prep up for when I want to start interacting with liquid loans. And so I was messing around with very small figures. In fact, the first trove I did the minimum amount that they let you do. There is a minimum, and that's going to be the same with liquid loans. And so I learned that lesson cheaply compared to if someone was going large and didn't realize that same. So this is the sales pitch for why always in crypto you should be doing test everything. Like don't just start going large without real. So unless you're willing to spend, you either invest the time in reading all the information and all the white paper and all the thing, and talking to people and going into forums and live chats and Telegram chats and all of that shit to talk to people and really hear people talking about it and learn from other people's mistakes, or you start with a small amount so that you learn the hard way, but with a small amount.
Yep. No, that's great advice.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's just, you guys just don't do anything stupid. Like you just have to prepare for everything you do. If you can't look up a YouTube video and learn about whatever you're doing, then just, can you get away from me?
Yeah, in poker, they say if you can't identify the fish at the table, you're probably...
Yeah, people all the time, Scott, why don't you serial onboard everyone anymore? And I'm like, because they don't want to hear it, dude. Clearly, like I'll onboard a smart dude here and there, like if I see one and he seems cool, but like all you're doing is leading people to die in crypto. Because
there can be a lot of idiots leading idiots is probably the way that we got the politicians.
People get pissed at me all the time because I'm like, I'm not running around shilling fucking Hex. What do you think how crazy would that be to get someone to lock something into a smart contract before they understand anything about a smart contract or the security of a wallet? You know, so it's just so negligent. People want to come at me and I'm like, dude, you're lucky I'm not sitting on here shitting on you for being an absolute fucking idiot. Everything that you say, everything, like, and no one, there's a reason not a lot of people will ever come at me directly. It's because they know I will methodically learn everything about what they're doing, and I will expose them directly. And it's because I have nothing to hide. I've told everyone everything. It's like, I don't, what else do you want to know? Come at me. What are you going to say? I was addicted to drugs for years. I was, like, I don't give a fuck.
We need that. I think the three of us are all, freedom fighters, and with our different skills and things like that, because there are, unfortunately, when we talk about like crypto adoption, and this will be kind of my final point. I don't want to take, everyone's day, but when we talk about crypto adoption, there's so many people that are looking to exploit the circulating economic energy as opposed to just moving the space forward. And if we don't have individuals who are willing to challenge everybody, just because I like you as a person, or just because you've done something, well in the past, doesn't mean that the next thing is flawless. So we need to challenge respectfully, right? And with purpose, so that we expose the people who are siphoning away from the movement, because every victim they take is a soldier from our army that can't march with us anymore. And we're all marching in the same direction as long as we have a vision, a clear-eyed vision of what crypto can bring us in terms of human freedoms. And I think that's where the three of us all have a very strong similarity of values.
Yeah, it's like at the end of the day, like I'm just one dude. All I can do is live my life, right? But like, how many people can I impact with the things that I do on a daily basis? Like, what else am I going to do? I'm going to die at some point. So like, I don't care that much. Like people always tell me what I should and shouldn't believe in. And I'm like, well, I'm going to die. So fuck you. You know what I mean? Like, fuck you. I don't care. You don't give me the rights in this world. You don't say the things that I must think. I will die. I
do it for people that have children, man. I know that there is a huge, guardian responsibility where you're not going to expose high risk to your family because of your children, even if you value those things. And so I take it upon myself as sort of an isolated human. I don't have offspring that I have to cater to. I will speak more violently, if you will. I will be louder for the people I understand have to be a little quieter, even though they agree with the sentiments I'm sharing.
I think that's a great place to stop, guys. What an
incredible I agree. Those points are so incredible.
I think that's an excellent place to end. Oh my God. If we could do this every single day, you could change the world. Anything you do, you can't do whatever you want, but whatever you do, you can change the world with. If you do it right, and if you do it as hard as you can. And like Richard always, or at least said in one of his last streams, he's like, I don't really care what you're doing. If you want to be really good at it, you got to work about 13, 14 hours a day. And he's so right. Like I'm talking about really good life-changing shit. Like
anyone on Twitter can see my sleep schedule, man. Non-existent. Yeah, I'm constantly trying to pick up the information.
It's just so incredible. Guys, I will be here tomorrow every day. I'll be here every day, 11 a.m. Eastern. Biceps in the chat.
Biceps in the chat.
Flip this shit up and send it all over Twitter. There was alpha everywhere. If you found something that you liked in here, clip it, tag the YouTube, me and Sam's, and just fucking send that shit, brother. All right, guys, this has been incredible. I'm going to run the fitness challenge promo. Anything you guys want to say before we step out?
Tangent.
Wait, just share my screen.
I'm nervous. Oh my gosh, yes. Yes. Oh, I'm making that the background on my computer, man.
Please,
Steak and eggs.
Eat it already. Thank God.
Steak and eggs is the beef.
Man. Everyone, go to this tweet right now. Tangent, drop the tweet. Let's make this thing go absolutely fucking nuclear, guys. There's 130 people in here. Let's all retweet.
I'm going to it right now, man.
That's steak and eggs. Everyone, go to that tweet. Copy the link if you don't mind. Put it in the chat, guys. Spam this tweet until every human in the stratosphere of the cryptosphere knows that we are absolute coddling Hexagon animals, guys. What a wonderful time. I will see you later.